This open meeting of the Grafton Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted both remotely and in person, consistent with the temporary provisions of the open meeting law, which extends remote meeting protocols through March 31st, 2025. This meeting is convening via Zoom video conference and in person as posted on the meeting agenda, which can be found on the Town of Grafton website. Please see the agenda for details on how to participate remotely. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. All participation will be visible to others. Please be aware that if you share your screen, others may see this and it may be published or rebroadcast later. This meeting may feature public comment. For anyone that's attending virtually, use the raise hand feature. If you're on the phone, the meeting administrator will enable you to speak. And for anyone that's going to speak, please state your name and address for the record. And all votes taken will be done on a roll call vote. So we have a pretty packed agenda this evening.
You've got one right there anyways, I think. Is that it? No, April.
It's in your packet, Brian, but
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and I know I printed my own.
It's up
too.
there if you
Sunrise
need it.
first instead of, originally we were gonna do Elmwood Street first, but now we.
I just listed them.
Oh, okay, so that's not the order, okay.
No, they're all at 7 o'clock, so
Okay.
whatever they choose to pick.
Gotcha.
All right, so Katrina, is there any rhyme or reason to the order?
Nope,
Is that what Kate
they're all at
has?
7. Yeah, they're all at 7, so whatever you choose.
All right, so let's start with 68 Sunrise. We'll just go in order. So, Mr. Kurdulis?
Do you want me to read the public notice first?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
Okay. And actually, is there anyone else going to be here on this?
No,
Matter.
the homeowner submitted a letter that was in the packet giving Zach permission to speak on his behalf.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to just read the rules of order. So the clerk will read the petition, and then the petitioner will have the opportunity to present their case. The petitioner will have 15 minutes to present. The petitioner shall present the required information, and all comments should be specific. The opposition will also have 15 minutes to speak. These time limits can be extended only with consent of the board. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to the petition then will have an opportunity to do so. Letters received in favor of or in opposition to the petition will be read into the, not be read into the meeting record, but will be available on the website. The board may ask questions from time to time, but all conversations should be directed through the chair. After all the evidence is presented, the board will enter into discussion and render a decision. At any time during this hearing and prior to a decision being made by this board, the petitioner has the option to request that the petition be withdrawn without prejudice or continue to a later date, at which time the petitioner could provide additional information favorable to the petitioner. So with that, I will turn it over to Zach.
Hi, yes. My name is Zachary Cadulas. I represent Remodel or Renew Home Improvement. We are a Worcester-based company.
Oh,
we've been.
I apologize. Hold on one second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
And we also need to open the public hearing.
Can we have a 5-minute recess? I've got to go grab something.
Yes.
She forgot these.
No worries.
sorry,
All right,
All right.
clerk.
all right. So at this time, I'll ask the clerk to read the petition into the record.
The Grafton Board of Appeals has received a petition from Paul and Karen Dagno. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Excuse me for the incorrect pronunciation. For 68 Sunrise Avenue, requesting that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant a special permit to allow the replacement of 2 decks on a pre-existing non-conforming structure within the side setbacks where 15 feet is required, and the setbacks are 6.9 feet and 13.1 feet respectively. The board will conduct a public hearing on January 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Conference Room A at the Municipal Center, 30 Province Road in Grafton, to consider this request and/or take whatever action is necessary, including the granting of a finding, special permit, variance, or other necessary relief allowed under the zoning bylaw. Copies of this application and plan are available for public inspection on the Town of Grafton website on the Zoning Board of Appeals 40A page. Zoning Board of Appeals Brian Waller, Bill McCusker, Kay Reed, Bill Yeomans, Peter Adams, and Jiffy Thomas.
Okay. It's been so long since we've done one of these. We have to vote to open the public hearing, right?
I never used to do that.
No, we don't.
No.
We just open.
Okay. All right. So I'll turn it over to Zach. Sorry for the delay there.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So once again, my name is Zachary Cadulas. I represent Remodeler Renew Home Improvement, who is representing Paul and Deborah. So at 68 Sunrise, they have currently 2 decks that do not meet the setback laws. They are trying to replace both decks exactly the same size and exactly the same footprint. We're not changing any size or going any bit bigger or smaller. We're just keeping the same footprint, exactly what they have. The one deck on the left-hand side that is closer there, I apologize for this plot plan. We did get a updated one where they bubbled out the little deck that showed the setbacks on it right there, but they highlighted it in red so it's easier to read. But as she was telling you, it is 6.9 feet away from the setback, from the property line itself. That deck alone has an elevator lift going to it, and that is one of the only way that one of the homeowners can easily get in and out of their home. Currently, these decks are not up to code on the way that they're built. So unfortunately, we cannot just redeck the decking and just pretty it up. Unfortunately, we're going to have to safely build from ground up all new footings, all new 6x6 posts, supporting posts going all the way around, making sure this deck is safe for the person to use it as a way in and out of their home for their handicap accessibility. That is the biggest concern, obviously, with the 6.9 feet. We understand that, it is very close to the property line and it doesn't meet code, but we're just replacing what has already been there. The other deck in question is the bigger deck, which is 13.1 feet away from the property line. And we are, once again, just replacing exactly for what is like in life. Their property is very angled in a way that it's wider than long. So they don't have much options to really have a safe way for that elevator to work without replacing that deck. And if we're going to be changing it to what it meets for standard codes to nowadays compared to when the deck was originally built, but we are not making it any bigger. We're just giving them a safer alternative that they have now. If the board has any questions, I would love to answer anything that you guys would like to ask.
So, just a preliminary question. What's the dotted line behind the lot line? Is that a fence?
Yes, that's a fence
Yes.
that is a fence on the neighbor's property.
Or is that a setback?
No, that's a fence on the neighbor's property.
Is it the neighbor's fence?
Are you
or-
Yes.
talking this one or this?
Looking at,
This right here,
or actually, here.
right here,
Oh, okay.
that is the neighbor's fence.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Berger,
did you have a chance to review my zoning determination?
I did.
So let me just summarize. This addition was built. Can't summarize without,
1975.
no, the addition was built in 1999. The addition was built in 1999, and their plot plan showed that the addition and the deck on the rear of the house was supposed to be 15 feet. And the plot plan that they submitted showed that it was supposed to be 15 feet. When they went for this application, that's when it was discovered it was only 13 feet. So this is the site plan that we got when they constructed the house in 1999, the addition in 1999. And it shows 15 feet. So under section 40A, section 7, if something has been built with a permit, then we have a 6-year look. A 10-year look, excuse me. So now that structure is now considered pre-existing non-conforming. So that's where we are right now. That, oh, can you keep on sharing?
I'm trying to find that.
Oh,
Yeah.
but they have it too. So when you're looking at this, and I do have 40A section 7 highlighted in here, you can look at this as now pre-existing non-conforming that would need a special permit. I don't, and the front deck that is only 6 feet 9 inches, that was built without a permit. So that's an unpermitted structure. I don't know how you handle that as a board, but the back deck clearly is part of the addition that they put on for the garage, and under the section, it has protection. Now, that other deck that's 6 feet 9, if they take it down, it just lost its grandfathered rights under 40A, or under our bylaws, because we don't say reconstruct. So this board is now talking about extending a pre-existing non-conforming, which could be both decks. Could be. I just wanted to give you all that information that I put in the zoning determination.
What is the 6-year and the 10-year thing on that?
If you have an addition that was permitted,
Right,
and if the building inspector found it within 6 years that structure is only 13 feet, where it should be 15 feet, then you're gonna say, take the structure down or get relief through wherever you can get the relief from. The 10 years is, that gives the building inspector 10 years for something that's not permitted, reverse it. It's 6 years for not permitted, 10 years for permitted. So if we find that deck within 6 years, then we could order that deck down.
and what happens
Mr.
if
Chair.
what happens if you don't find it and you find it in 10?
Then it's a protected, it's that unpermitted deck, not talking about code violations, just zoning and setbacks, is protected. It can stay there for the life of the deck.
So does that mean if somebody builds something without a permit and it goes 10 years and they don't get caught, they're home free?
For zoning, only for zoning,
Oh.
not for building, only for the zoning issues, like is it allowed, does it meet its setbacks, it doesn't meet its setbacks, it's protected. I cannot say, take that down. But if it falls down, you can't put it back up. But the whole back structure is pre-existing, non-conforming now. because it was built before 1980. It was built after 1986. So in order for you to determine a special permit, the first thing you have to do is this a pre-existing non-conforming? Section 40A 7 says yes, you can.
What,
I have that in here too.
So it looks like the
Mr.
whole,
Chair?
it looks like the whole house is in the setback.
The whole, here, bring
Addition.
it back up. Yeah, you're correct. The whole back is right there where it says dwelling is the 1999 and 2000 addition. So that all should have been 15 feet, where now it's 13 feet. So that is now considered a pre-existing non-conforming, even though we are in 1999.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Yeomans?
through you to Mr. Berger, the fact that they are addressing a handicapped accessibility sheds a different light on this. Could you explain what that is?
Well, I don't, that's an elevator lift. I don't know on this plan what that lift is doing and where it's going. So I cannot say that that is for handicap accessibility because this is just a flat picture. I don't know if that lift goes up to a door. I can't answer that with what I'm seeing on screen.
Could the applicant please answer that?
Yes, so that elevator is directly in between the stairs and that back corner. So if you notice how the stairs and the deck kind of continue past the house and go down, the reason why is that block right there where it says E elevator, the arrow pointing to it, right near that fence line.
Yeah,
So that is where the elevator is. So it's one of those outside elevators where at the bottom there is a door that they open, they wheel into it, close the door, hit a button, it lifts them up, they open up a door, and it brings them onto the deck. So their wheelchair would be traveling, their motorized or pushed would be
Right.
traveling onto the deck and then to the right, to the bigger side of the yard, to the right of the house, and then enter at that corner. So it's realistically just to get to the door from down at the bottom.
I
They
don't see
they-
the door, Mr. Chair.
What do you mean?
I don't know if the door is closest to the fence side. I don't know. By here, I just don't see where it is.
I saw a door there today when I drove by.
Do you have to get on the deck to do that?
No, I could see it from the street.
No. Do you have to access that door? Do you have to stand on that deck?
Yes, it's on
Oh,
a
yeah.
second level.
Okay.
So let's, if I may, hypothetically, if you could determine that this provided some sort of handicapped accessibility, how does that impact or any zoning determination or anything with respect to zoning?
I was just trying to answer Bill's question.
Well, I think what Bill had indicated was that if it provides handicapped accessibility, that has an impact on what we're doing this evening. And I'm not so sure it does. I don't know that zoning has some sort of a carve out for handicapped accessibility.
I would agree with that. I don't think it.
I'd have to research a little more. I'd have to research under the handicap accessible code.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
It's
first
not-
time I've ever heard of that. I mean, so I'll go back to Mr. Yeomans then. I mean, are you aware of something whereby if it's handicapped accessible, it has some sort of an impact on zoning or anything we're doing here tonight?
yes, I can recall a previous case that was before the ZBA, probably in the past year and a half, where there was a question of non-conforming as far as the front setback. And the discussion on that particular project was if they could give it a handicap ramp, then it would be allowed by right. And they did not have to do that because of, some other conditions that came into play. But we had a rather lengthy discussion on that. And as I recall, it was because if you make that handicapped accessible, which this already is, then, my thought is that this would have a special carve out. And the other thing that we're dealing with here is, from what the contractor has explained, we have potentially an unsafe deck that the homeowner is seeking to replace and make safe for a handicapped person. So if Mr. Berger needs additional views of that deck, of the elevator, the elevator is obviously going from a ground floor level. It's not rising above the deck and then having the person roll down onto the deck. So that elevator would be rising to the plane of the deck where that person would exit it in a powered, wheelchair or a regular wheelchair. So that's why I thought about the handicap accessibility being a factor on this petition before us tonight, because I do recall that we had, quite a discussion. I don't remember the particular case, but it was a renovation of a big old house, and they wanted a porch to go all around it. And we had the discussion that if you could add a handicapped accessible ramp to that, then the setbacks did not apply. That's my recollection.
So,
I'm doing a quick search on Mass General Law 40A.
To be honest, I'm not so sure it's relevant at this point. I think that what we're trying to do here is establish whether these are pre-existing non-conforming decks. Based on what you're saying with the 6 years and the 10 years, and I'm going to go with your expert opinion that what we're looking at was indeed constructed in 1999 and not 3 years ago. Or
Well, we
say
do have-
5 years ago.
No, we have that number.
We have pictures.
No, we have the assessors.
We have the assessor's card in the zoning, and I think it was put in
Okay,
2005.
So as a zoning enforcement officer, you're comfortable that both of these structures exceed the 6 year or 10 year, depending on which one. So
Absolutely.
it's a pre-existing non-conforming structure. So at this point now, as long as we are comfortable that these are pre-existing non-conforming structures, now we just get right into our regular Section 6 stuff. And, is it what's going to be done more detrimental to the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. So, whether it's handicapped or not, I think is irrelevant at this point, at least in my opinion. They're replacing exactly what's there. I don't see how it could be more detrimental to the neighborhood.
But this deck was built without a permit.
Doesn't matter, it's still the 10 years.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
It's a pre-existing non-conforming structure,
Okay.
legally. So I in my opinion, it's, it's interesting. I was unaware of this whole 6 year and 10 year stuff, and, but what we have from our zoning enforcement officer is that it's a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
but I think, Bob, didn't you say there's also an issue with the bylaw? An issue with, because it was not permitted, replacing it, essentially.
But they're not taking down the dwelling. If they were taking the entire addition down and rebuilding the existing dwelling where it says E-dwelling, now you got a problem. But they're keeping the existing dwelling, and now they're just expanding the pre-existing non-conforming structure. So you can give them a special permit to replace both decks.
Wait a minute. The decks, what I just went through was that the decks are pre-existing non-conforming structures.
I'm saying that. I'm saying yes,
They are.
they are.
Okay.
And the E dwelling is what is making them both pre-existing non-conforming, because they're both connected to each other.
What's making them non-conforming is that they're in the setback,
That's right, so. and-
along with the house, sure, but.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the house makes them, you couldn't just have the deck standing there by themselves.
No, but the chair asked if they take down the deck, do they lose their protection? No, the protection only gets lost when you take everything away, the decks and the E dwelling, which you're not doing.
So why do they need a special permit?
Because you're taking because they don't meet their setbacks. They don't meet the 15 feet, so you're taking those decks down and you're putting new decks up, so now you're expanding the pre-existing non-conforming.
How are they expanding it though, if it's the same footprint?
Under the bylaw that we got passed 10 years ago, I can only permit something on a pre-existing non-conforming if it meets its setbacks. And these do not meet their setbacks. Even if they're taking it down and putting it back up, I can't give them a permit until you give them the special permit.
Do you mean expanding the age of the unit, not expanding, not
If you-
bigger, just the age of the unit, it's gonna be
You're
expanded.
you're taking the deck down.
Right, but it's gonna be the same
If
size.
you put, that's right, but if you put the deck back up and it made its setbacks of 15 feet, I could permit that. But because it's not making its 15 feet, it's making only 13 feet, I can't permit that.
And if they were just replacing the decking, we wouldn't be here, but they're
Right.
taking
If they
the
were just
whole-
reskimming it.
Right,
yeah.
they're taking the whole thing off
Yeah.
and putting the whole
Right.
thing back up,
Right.
that's why.
Okay,
Yeah,
if that's what it
same
says, then we're not, it's not expanding,
Not making it bigger.
not making it bigger.
What's the bylaw section?
Do you have the bylaw in front of you?
No, I'm left with my car. Just looking for that.
I got it right here.
3, 2, Bob, Bill has his,
I got it.
3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 3, 4.
You're looking at 3435, pre-existing non-conforming structures.
Absolutely.
That's what you're looking at there. But before you look at, or after you look at that, you've got to look at 3424. That's the one that Mr. Berger wrote. And it says reconstructed for 3424, where 3435 does not say reconstructed, which we should
Right.
think about that one of these days. Because we keep on talking about reconstruction. Well, we'll just leave that one wall up and then the wind comes down and blows that wall down.
But I mean, I think in this case, I don't know that this board is adding any value to this process.
If you didn't give them a special permit, then they could not get a permit, a building permit. Because under 3424, non-conforming, that's what this is, single-family or two-family resident structures may be reconstructed, because that's what they're doing to these decks, extended, altered, or structurally changed upon the determination by the inspector of buildings that such proposed reconstruction, extension, alteration, or change does not increase the non-conforming nature of such thing. Now, I know what you're about to say. The following circumstances shall not be deemed to increase the non-conforming nature of such structure. And then it talks about alterations to the structure located on a lot with insufficient area, alterations to the structure on a lot with insufficient frontage, alterations to the structure which encroach upon one or more yard setbacks areas, provided that the alteration, here you go, will comply with the current setback yard building coverage and building height. So with number 3, I can say we don't, because it's 13 instead of 15, so I wouldn't be able to give them a permit for that.
But I would say it's not an alteration.
It's reconstruction.
They're rebuilding it, so they need a permit, a special permit.
I mean, we're here now, we might as well do it, but
Isn't it almost the same thing if they came to us and needed to build this because they needed it, say, for handicap access, and we could allow them a special permit to build this deck? Because we think they, people come to us all the time to add decks that don't meet the setbacks.
On a
And-
pre-existing non-conforming
Right,
structure.
right.
They could just figure, you could just think this house was built in 1930.
Right, so that's the way we have to look at it.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
And the house is 13.1 feet off the
Yeah,
setback.
right.
And the deck is attached to it.
Right, right.
Did I help you? No.
I don't know.
Well, I'm glad I came.
I'm still confused if that answers your question. It didn't make it worse.
Okay, good.
And it's not the explanation, it's just I'm just struggling with,
Why it came to us?
yeah.
It's not, yeah. Doesn't meet the setbacks.
All right.
I'm almost done. Mr. Chairman. And so the findings that I come up with here are, finding one, F1, the decks were built in 1999. Finding F2, the parcel is located in the R20 zoning district. Finding 3, the R20 zone requires a 15-foot rear yard setback, and the structures are located 6.9 and 13.1 feet off the rear lot line. Based on findings F1 through F3, the current structure is a pre-existing non-conforming structure. Finding F4, the current use are decks attached to a residential structure. Finding F5, the neighborhood consists primarily of residences. Finding F6, proposed decks will be exact same size as existing decks. Based on findings F4 through F6, the proposed reconstruction is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. Finding F7, the lot is in the Water Supply Protection Overlay District. Finding F8, the change will result in 0% increase above what was existing on the site as of the date of enactment of the WSPOD. I suppose we actually don't know that, do we?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, it's on there. It's on there, hold on. It is right there,
What? Where?
right there,
You mean the numbers?
for the impervious?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's saying it's 16.5% improves. I just never noticed this on the WSPOD thing. It has to be as of the enactment date. I just had never noticed that.
When did that come in? When did we vote that in?
May 1989. All right, I'm gonna change this.
Really, 89?
I'm just gonna say the change will result in a 0% increase above what was existing. I'm getting rid of this part. Prior to reconstruction. And I'm gonna do a finding F9, total impervious area is 16.5%, which is well under the 50%. No, I'm just gonna, no, actually, the 50%, that's the amount of change, is 16.5%, so it's well within the ground, so, based on findings F7 through 9, the proposed changes within the 50% increase allowed in the WSPOD, not more detrimental to the water supply and quality of groundwater existing use. So that's, I think, what we have for findings.
Is there any further discussion from the board? Is there any public comment?
No.
One online? So this time, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on case number 968 Sunrise.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Yeomans.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. The public hearing is closed. And
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that the zoning board of appeals grant a special permit to Paul E. and Karen Dagnall Junior Life Trust for 68 Sunrise Avenue, to allow the replacement of 2 decks on a pre-existing non-conforming structure within the side setbacks. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Pre-existing non-conforming structure, per Exhibit A. And, Exhibit A would be that document that we're
survey.
looking at here.
Second.
So one more time, Grafton Board of Appeals, grants a special permit to Paul E. Karen Dagnall Life Trust, 68 Sunrise Avenue, to allow replacement of 2 decks on a pre-existing non-conforming structure per Exhibit A. And
Second.
Peter said second.
Yep.
motion made and seconded.
So do you have Exhibit A over there?
Yes.
Okay.
We can take- Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Yeoman.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. Special permit is allowed.
So Zach, I have 14 days to get the decision typed up and get the board in to sign it and file it with the clerk. There's a 21-day appeal period. After that, there's a 20-day appeal period. On the 21st day, either you or the homeowner needs to come in and pick up the certificate of no appeal, file it with the Worcester County Registry of Deeds, bring me a copy back, and at that point, if everything's been submitted and the building department approves your permit, we can probably pass. You give me the certificate of no appeal and we can issue the building permit.
I will get back on the review early next week.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the board and all the members. I hope you guys have a great night. And I once again appreciate you guys hearing our case and approving our project.
Good night.
Good
night.
night, Zach. Thank
All right.
you.
Good night.
All right, so we'll move on to 16 Elmwood, modification of a special permit. So this time I'd ask the clerk to read the petition into the record.
The Grafton Board of Appeals has received a petition from Irona Ferreira for 16 Elmwood Street, South Grafton, requesting that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant a modification of a special permit issued on February 26, 2023, to Brian Salerno to change the owner to Ironia Ferreira. This board will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, January 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Conference Room A at the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center to consider this request and/or take whatever action is necessary, including the granting of a finding, special permit variance, or other necessary relief allowed under the zoning bylaw. Copies of this application and plan are available for public inspection on the Town of Grafton website on the Zoning Board of Appeals 40A page. Zoning Board of Appeals, Brian Waller, Chairman, William McCusker, Vice Chair, Kay Reed, Clerk, Bill Yeomans, Peter Adams, and Jiffy Thomas.
All right. So I'm not going to reread the rules of order, but the applicant will have 15 minutes to present, and I will turn it over to Ms. Ferreira.
Thank you. My name is Heroína Ferreira. I'm attending this meeting from Sydney, Australia. Over here is 11:43 a.m. of Friday morning.
How's the weather?
The property case, as written, it's a 16 Elmwood. The case number is 1890-1. My request is very simple. It's only to have the special permit previously owned by Brian Salerno, so to be transferred to myself as the new owner. We do have the intention to carry on all the plot plans and the plans in place as is. no further alterations or requests will be made.
Okay,
I've got a question. I've got a question.
please.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Because are we gonna have to do this on the last case if they sell the house?
Yeah,
We've
I
never
remember
done
we
this
doing
before.
Well,
I've never heard of,
everything is under, you know, they do it in the planning board all the time. So I thought that this is what we do. Because if she's taking the property and taking the special permit, how else do we get her name on there?
Why do we need her name on there?
Because she hasn't, this project's not closed.
Just because the project's not completed and she
Oh.
bought
Yeah, it's not
the
even
property.
started.
They haven't
Oh.
started it.
okay.
So that
But
would
has
be-
the
So we
decision been filed?
granted,
Yes, the original decision was filed
and it was
under Brian Salerno
and approved by us.
and approved by us, and he never did any of the work in it. He started and then stopped and then put the building up
But
for
the
sale.
permit travels with the property. I mean, let's say Brian Salerno had completed the work, we wouldn't need to transfer the permit.
That's true.
If the work had been completed, but he hasn't done anything.
So what?
Well,
but the
that's,
permit's still recorded with the
Permit's a
registry.
permit.
yeah,
And
a-
she's the new owner that's filed with the registry of deeds, so would it automatically transfer
Yeah,
over because it's filed, because she's the new owner?
yeah.
Don't look at me, it's over my pay grade.
Doesn't it become part of the deed?
well,
No, but-
well, the
yeah, I
question
would
was
think.
because we issued the special permit to the owner and the owner of the property. Do we have to have them come for us, or do we just let it go? This is the first one we've had like this, where we've issued a special permit before the work was ever completed or done.
So who, all right, so maybe my question is to the applicant, why are you here? Well, who told you need to be here?
Probably one of us.
One of us did, Brian.
Probably one of us. But to support our statement, the planning board does this. The select board are doing this. Not for your case, but for a marijuana facility where they're changing names.
You know, you've got community agreements and all that sort of stuff. That
I know.
I think that's a whole different ballgame.
I know,
And the planning board does it for who?
special permits.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Yeomans.
I just have a question of the applicant. Do you own the property now, or is there a contingency?
No, I'm a full owner. The property is paying full. We have no
Okay.
mortgage,
I have a
Thank
copy
you.
of
and I
the
have the,
deed,
and I have the deed.
and I have a copy
Thank
of it
you.
in the file.
So there, I don't think there's anything that would say that the special permit's now invalid because the property's been sold.
Well, she just wants to change the name, but I don't know why we're changing the name.
So,
special
so I'll turn
permit.
it around. Under what authority do we have to change the name?
Again, this is over my pay grade.
So we certainly have the authority to issue a new special permit if we want to go that route.
Yeah, again,
What authority do we have to change the name on a permit?
I don't know.
I would argue we don't have any.
I don't know.
And why is it needed?
I can't answer that question.
That's why I asked the question in the first place. Why were we here?
Well, okay, wait a second. You're the zoning enforcement officer. She comes to you for a building permit.
Yeah,
She gonna get it?
she has it.
She has the building permit?
She has the building permit.
Oh,
She has the building permit because that's easy. That was a name change.
Right, but if we had not issued the special permit to Brian Salerno, then she wouldn't get a building permit, correct?
Say that again.
If the special permit had never been issued.
Then she would not get a building permit.
Right, okay.
Right.
But the special permit was issued, you've issued the building permit.
Yep. And the building permit was changed over to this young lady.
Brian gave her,
with that address.
yeah,
She's
Yeah.
the owner.
yeah.
And she's the owner. And
she's
I
the
don't have,
owner.
and that was fine. Really have never run into this.
I mean, I think it would be more relevant if it was a use or there was
Right.
something
Changing.
specific to the owner. But
Just a name.
Yeah, but I mean, you say we haven't run into it, but we run into it all the time. Anytime someone sells a house that's been modified with a
Yeah,
special permit,
right.
right? So,
With the special permit?
Well, any of the hundreds of special permits we've issued,
But,
I'm certain some of those have transferred,
right,
right?
but this one, the work hasn't been done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but,
just-
and I
Okay.
know, like I said, I'm leaning back towards planning board. Planning board, when some of these things change, they go in for the name change. That's where I was getting that. And then when, you know, you got your accessory apartment, but it's written right in the accessory apartment, that only runs
That's-
with you. I know, I'm saying the same thing.
yeah.
So I don't know. If we made, or if I made a mistake, I apologize.
So in my opinion, I'm a no, and I'm a no not because I don't want to transfer it, but because I don't. I want to understand under what authority we can do a transfer. So
And is it needed?
well, that would be a secondary thing. But even if you know whether it's needed or not is that would help. But okay, let's say it's needed. Who has the authority to do a transfer?
An attorney, you think, would file some sort of a
Exactly.
legal something to
Right.
say the name needs to be changed for the
Right.
permit, maybe. I don't
And of course, we don't have counsel that comes in every other week, so
Yeah.
we don't have the luxury of saying, hey, this just came up, can we discuss it? We don't have that right now.
Yeah, we don't.
So, I mean, I would suggest to the applicant to withdraw the application,
Okay.
and
just
we take
move
no
on.
action.
Yeah,
I
just move on.
I was gonna say continue and get opinion from council. Does the town have a council?
Yes, we have counsel, and we can ask the town administrator if we can, well, actually, I think Brian could reach out, or maybe we could reach out, but.
Yeah.
'cause, you
Someone
know,
should have that
Kind of
answer.
pay for every minute you talk to them. Cause
Mr. Chair?
it's not the same, but I think that's a great idea.
Mr. Yeomans?
Do we have any right to cancel a special permit and then just consider this a new application because nothing's changed?
No.
Why?
I mean, it's not a new application.
No, you wouldn't wanna do that.
No.
No.
Well, it's a new applicant.
Yeah, Mr. Yeomans, I don't think that's, the cancel part wouldn't be necessary. If the applicant came to us and asked us for a special permit, even though she already has one, I think we certainly could do that. We could issue another one. I don't think there'd be anything to stop us from doing that.
But then she has to.
But I don't think there's a case of canceling an earlier one.
Mr. Walsh?
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Jeff Walsh, Graves Engineering. Many permits that I see, at least in other communities, have a condition that the permit, I don't have the right wording, but will be applicable to successors, assigns, and so on and so forth. I'm just asking whether or not that clause is a condition in this permit anywhere.
We don't put that in
We
ours.
don't put that on ours.
Oh, okay, okay.
May
And
not
if
be
we
bad
did,
idea
that
to,
would be the card.
Maybe we should.
but then,
And,
you know,
to me, that draws to the point that if someone sells the property, any permits that go with it and so forth, that clause or that condition moves it along just like the deed and anything else.
I have a hunch that the 40A somewhere has that already in it. Because that's always been our understanding, is that a special permit follows, you know, stays with the land.
That would be above my pay grade too.
Thank you.
It's way above mine.
So, Ms. Ferreira, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that Brian had issued a document transferring all the existing permits and documents and plan to myself as the new owner. I believe he shared a copy of that document with the town as well. If not, I do have the document with me. And the other thing that I wanted to ask is because we don't have a clause, we have a silence clause in case of a ownership changing for the permit to be transferred. In that case, that silent clause should be prevailing. The special permit should be transferred to me automatically. We don't need to change the name. I just wanted the right to continue and to rebuild that beautiful house.
And I think that's where I think that's our conclusion, that happens just automatically, that no action needs to be taken by the board for you to do that. And
Thank you.
I would say unless there's a restriction on the special permit.
Yeah,
would be my thing.
yeah.
Because I could see situations where,
We condition a special permit.
Right.
Well, actually, no, I don't think we can do that, actually. Maybe we can, but regardless,
no, I know we've done that.
yeah, I think we, maybe, yeah, but regardless. My suggestion is, well, the applicant certainly can withdraw, yeah, request to withdraw. I think that we need to get, an opinion from council, if we think that this is actually something that's necessary, and we, I mean, the overall group here, if we think that that's necessary, let's get an opinion from council. But, and as long as I've been on this board, we've never even come close to having a discussion about something like this.
So what I would suggest is that we continue this, and then I think you could administratively withdraw it if we,
Yep.
receive an answer.
Yeah.
You could just by email, let Katrina know that you're
Yep.
withdrawing the application.
Yeah.
And not have to come back. So we'll take the action on our end.
But don't we have
And
to
I'm
continue
saying
it
We do have to continue it
to a date
this,
certain?
to a date
that
certain.
part of the we will
Yes.
try to get us an answer
Yep.
on that and let you know.
Actually, the applicant would need to ask for a continuance. If she wanted to go that route, or she can ask to withdraw it entirely, or she can ask that we not continue it and vote.
If you could resolve, do I have the right to ask this now, right now?
So I guess here's the ramifications of those. So to withdraw it, and it's later determined that you do need some action from this board, you have to start over again. If you continue it to our next meeting, that allows our staff to figure out whether you need to be here at all, and maybe not come back again. And I don't know what a vote does here, honestly. Mr. Berger.
You have a building permit to start your construction. That's, the building department is not holding that up at all. So we were just trying to get things in line for you, and I don't know if we made a mistake or not, but your building department is, your building permit's ready to go. You have your building permit, you can start your construction. This is not holding any of that up.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Okay.
In that case, I would really appreciate the board and the members and all your help and Katrina Bob, and especially, and we'll continue from my side, and please continue from your side until you reach the conclusion that needs to be reached. If there's anything from my side that you requires, I'll be here to collaborate.
So entertain a motion to continue.
Yeah, so we need to figure out when our next meeting is. We don't have anything out, we don't have any meetings scheduled right beyond this
No.
one.
But we're probably gonna have to do one with Upton, so Upton Street.
The 40B.
Yep,
Presumably, we'll close that tonight,
correct.
and then, we would probably need a couple of weeks to finalize decision, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yep.
probably like a February 1 type of time frame for our next meeting.
Probably.
Yeah. Does that work for everyone?
What, do we have a date?
February first.
February 1st?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine with me.
It's fine with me.
Jiffy and Bill, are you guys okay February 1st?
I'm good.
Okay.
And
Alright.
Dan Hill?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
Dan?
He walked away.
He walked away.
He's coming back.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What's the question?
Why not?
Boy,
February 1st for our next meeting.
presumably, we'll have another meeting on, Upton Street 40B, and would February 1 work?
That works for me.
Okay.
And does that work for the Upton Road team? Yeah. Okay.
So, Ironia, so what I'll do is this week, or next week, I'll reach out to our town council. If he deems that you didn't need to come before us, I'll email you. Then you can email me the request to withdraw, and we'll just handle it that way. Okay?
Okay,
Okay.
sounds
Well,
good.
you need to ask.
She did.
for-
She did,
oh,
she
okay.
did.
All right.
Alright, so, Mr. Chairman, I move that the zoning board of appeals continue case number 890-1 to February 1st at 7 PM.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Yeomans.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. Continue to February. Thank you.
Thanks, Ironia.
Oh, thank you all. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay, no, you think I can sit over there?
I wonder what the temperature is there. I wonder what the temperature is there.
Middle of summer. there.
It's summer down there. Yeah, it's like 80.
It's warm. It's probably warmer than that.
All right, so moving on to case number
816.
816-2. T&K Real Estate Holdings, Grafton Flea Market. The applicant to step up. I'll ask Ms. Reed to read the application.
The Grafton Board of Appeals has received a petition from P&K Real Estate Holding LLC, DBA, the Grafton Flea Market, for 26 Upton Street, requesting that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant a modification of a special permit issued on May 5th, 2016, to the Grafton Flea Market to be allowed to open on Saturdays from April 1st to December 15th, to allow the beer garden to open on Saturdays from April 1st to December 15th, and to allow the restaurant to open on, it says the 15th, but on Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on a pre-existing non-conforming use. Copies of this application and plan are available for public inspection on the Town of Grafton website on the Zoning Board of Appeals 40A page. Zoning Board of Appeals, Brian Waller, Bill McCusker, Kay Reed, Bill Yeomans, and Jiffy Thomas.
And Peter Adams.
Oh, Peter, sorry, and Peter Adams. I
Thank you.
flew by your name. And Peter Adams.
All right, so we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Twin Nguyen. On behalf of Kim and Tam, the owner of the Grafton Flea Market, I would like to thank Katrina Koshival for organizing this hearing in such a short notice. I would like to thank the CBA members, Mr. Waller, Mr. Custer, Ms. Reed, Mr. Yeoman, Mr. Adams, for the opportunity to appear before the committee to answer any questions or concern the committee might have regarding the request for the modification of special permit. There are three things that we are requesting from the committee tonight. One is to allow us to open on Saturdays and Sundays. Allow the beer garden to be open on Saturday in addition to Sunday, and permission for the restaurant to open from Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Okay. Given the unpredictability of the climate change and the recent weather patterns, a rainy day on Sundays give us at least a Saturday to do business and vice versa. Last year we lost 13 days due to rain. The economic impact on the business is huge, to say the least. If we miss one Sunday, and that's like a quarter of your revenue for the month. We believe that opening on Saturdays and Sunday give our vendors the flexibility and opportunity to make more money. The customer who frequent the flea market also have more opportunities to shop and to save money. Not everyone can sell just on Sundays. We have talked to a few vendors at the Grafton Flea Market who told us that they must go all the way to New Hampshire to do business because there are very limited number of flea market that are open on Saturdays. Sometimes they have to go home because they were not enough space to accommodate everyone. So we believe that there's a great demand for the flea market to open on both Saturdays and Sundays. Why we request the beer garden to be open. We already have the license, so we want to make full use of it. So we makes sense for us to offer our customer the beer garden on both days, Saturday and Sunday. And then why we want to have the restaurant open from Monday to Friday. We have the space sitting empty all these years, and we feel that it's time to fully utilize the space to its maximum potential. Having a full restaurant at the flea market will create more jobs opportunities and bring more revenues to the town. We want people to come to the Grafton Flea Market not just to buy and sell goods, but also to come for some great cuisine. Thank you for your time. Now I'd like to have any questions from the members.
So, first, I sort of view this as two very different requests. Because one is a modification or an expansion of activities that are already occurring. So to open on Saturdays, to open on Saturdays for both the beer garden and the flea market, right?
Right.
And then I think it's a much different request to open the restaurant Monday through Friday. So any discussion from the board or questions from the board on
Mr. Chairman?
either of those, Mr. McCusker?
Yeah, so I think we need to be really careful here. So what the applicant is asking for in this petition is permission to change the use from a flea market to a restaurant. Now, I know that's not exactly what he's saying. All right, he's saying he wants to have the flea market, but he also wants to have a restaurant. But we need to think of it from the point of view of once we grant a permit, special permit to allow the change of use to allow a restaurant, the flea market could go away and that becomes the only use on this property. Right? So really what we need to be thinking about is as if this is a change of use from a flea market to a restaurant. And in my opinion, this board, in order to grant that special permit, this board should follow the exact same procedure that the planning board would follow if a restaurant use were allowed in this zoning district with a special permit. Okay, so the problem right now, I assume, is that in the agricultural district, a restaurant is not allowed. The only way they can have a restaurant in the agricultural district is by way of a special permit from us to extend a non-conforming use. Alter a non-conforming use. So that's why they're here, but I still think we have to follow the same process that the planning board would follow. And quite frankly, I don't know what that is because that's not something we normally do. I would like to have the planning department, the town planner in particular, but the planning department involved in this intimately. I'd like them to meet with us and guide us through what sorts of requirements we should be looking for from the applicant. And in particular, I think a site plan review is a beginning step. And, it may make sense for the applicant to meet with the development review board in town first, to get an understanding of what's going to be required. But, I think this is not something we normally do. I think we need to rely on the professionals in the building. I think there should be a site plan review. Eventually Graves gets involved and reviews that. This is a big deal. This is not just, adding a deck to a house. where we can grant special permit, and I can write it down on the fly here. I mean, this is a big deal. To your point, Brian, if all they were asking for is to add Saturdays, I think that becomes a much different request and quite frankly simpler. I think the point of our original special permit was that the beer garden was an accessory use to or an affiliated use to the flea market. And if they're gonna extend flea market to Saturdays, extending the beer garden to Saturdays probably isn't that big a deal. But to add a full-blown restaurant, that changes everything, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So is there already a restaurant on the property? So it's not like you're
Right.
not taking the flea market,
Right.
removing that and turning that space that's right there along one.
Right, right. We already
into a
have,
restaurant.
yes, we already have a restaurant,
So it's behind, the
serving.
building behind the,
No, it's actually
It's-
part of the indoor flea market, and we
I've never
offer.
gone in, but.
Yeah, we offer food to customers every Sunday, so it's not something new. We had permission to do this along with the Grafton Flea Market existing use. So it's not something new that we're requesting.
So you
I think
just-
it's just the hours that we're
So,
requesting.
but would there be alcohol service?
Not on the restaurants. From Monday to Friday.
Would it be the same food that's served on Saturday?
no,
Sunday?
I think we'll offer like something different from the more normal Sunday, because it's like a full restaurant. It's not a fast food thing.
Is it still just hot dogs, hamburgers?
Yes,
fries?
right now it is just hot dogs, hamburger, and
That's that's not.
I don't see selling that at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's gonna be more,
right.
turn into more.
I agree. I mean, I think right now they have counter service, again, as an accessory to a flea market.
Right.
And I'm sure they could change that from hot dogs and hamburgers to Asian food or whatever they want. But still, it's an accessory to the flea market.
Right.
What you're asking for is to be able to run that restaurant 7 days a week when there's no flea market running. And as soon as we turn around and say, okay, you can run that restaurant when there's no flea market, then you could shut down the flea market, and now the only use there is a restaurant.
we're not planning to.
I understand you're not planning to, but you would have all the right in the world to do that. You'd have
But
all
we're
the-
not
I understand.
shutting down.
But we have to think about the big picture.
Or if you sell it,
You say, yeah, you could sell it.
you could sell it with that to the next guy and he wouldn't care.
But how do we control what somebody, when they own it, what they do with that use? Is he forced to keep a flea market there?
Well-
Because we granted the permit for that?
Well, the beer garden only goes with the flea market, so we're able to do that. We were able to say the beer garden can be
Oh, so
open
we
when
could-
the flea market's
right.
open.
Okay,
But what he's asking for is to have a restaurant when there's no flea market. And that's why I say, as soon as you do that, and I understand that's not your intention,
Right.
but the permit will be there for someone else, or as you know, if things change economically, the permit will be there for you to run just the restaurant without the flea market.
and what's the detriment to the town if he chose just to, what if he put up a really nice restaurant that brought a lot of people
That would be great.
to that restaurant?
That would be great, but I think
How do we
that
control that?
this board needs to just do the right thing, and that's
Right.
where we need the
I mean, I feel like the
guidance.
planning board definitely.
We need the guidance of the planning
Yeah.
department to help us, to make
Another
sure
one
we
I
do
wonder.
right.
wonder why
But this is,
here in
this
front
is
of
an
us.
agricultural zone.
Right.
And
so-
I mean, all you're growing there is asphalt.
Peter, Peter, close
Oh, I'm sorry.
All you're
It's an
growing is
agricultural zone and all we're growing is asphalt.
Yeah.
And some pine
And-
trees.
and- I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, so that gets the whole detriment to.
And I realize it's all grandfathered,
Yeah,
Yep.
the flea market is,
I think the zoning, the planning board needs to be involved.
I don't know what the issues are. Like we're not the experts in this. I'm not at least. So I don't know what the issues are. So that's why I think that it's going to be important to get the professionals in the building, and it's really the planning department involved.
how bad do you want a restaurant?
I think we just want to make good use of it instead of like laying there doing nothing for the whole
Understand.
week. The parking is there, the facility is there. I mean, we don't have to have it, obviously. I think the Saturdays for us is more important as of now. We just think that give us an option, like I said, the land is there, the parking is there, everything is there. There's no need to build more parking or.
And I don't think you're hearing no, that,
Right.
that would never be approved.
Right.
We're just saying there's,
Yeah, and obviously, I think the restaurant is a bigger, I think, request. I think we just want to get the Saturdays to open for the flea market.
so from a procedural standpoint, are we able to grant part of the request
Definitely.
and leave part of the request open without having to reapply?
Yeah, I think we definitely can. Oh, leave it open.
Yeah, so that, or do they have to file a new application for a special permit for a restaurant?
I think if we were to, I think one thing, if we were to generate a special permit, that said that, essentially changed it from just Sundays to Saturdays and Sundays.
That would be a modification to the existing permit, right?
Yeah, yes. But I think that would end this case.
Okay.
And I think that if they want to do the restaurant, that they would need to come back. And probably,
planning.
it would be to us.
Okay.
But I could sit with Fiona and figure out exactly what
Yeah.
they need before they come back to us.
Or as
No, I
as
don't,
Bill
I don't think,
suggested.
I don't think it's you sitting with Fiona. I think it's the applicant meeting with the Development Review Board in town. You still do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's the
Thursday.
applicant sitting with the Development Review Board and going through what would be necessary.
And I think get Fiona at your next night meeting
Yeah,
to guide you through the special permit and site plan review.
yep.
Because again, that's over our heads.
So I just want to reiterate to the applicant, I mean, I'm kind of the bad guy here because I'm the one saying all that, but I'm definitely not against what you're trying to do, and I get it. You've got a building there that's sitting empty 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, actually. So you want to take advantage of it. And I think that's great, and I would like to see you make a really, I think better be careful what I say. It would be great if you could have something that created really good food.
That we'd all want to come eat.
Of course,
Right.
and that's the.
We have to do it right. Right. There is a process and we need to follow through that. And I think some of you were on the board when this first came to us, but I'm going to say the same thing again. All right. I want to be careful that we don't go down a slippery slope where we've allowed for a restaurant and maybe we're just one step away from a nightclub. And next thing you know, we've got live bands and a building that looks a little bit like the Station nightclub did in Rhode Island where 100 people died. Right? And that's the reality is if we don't do this correctly, we end up on a slippery slope where suddenly now that's no longer a flea market at all. It becomes a band hall and next thing you know, some tragedy happens, which is what happened down in Rhode Island. And that's why it's very important to me that we do this correctly. And that's why the special permit you have today is very carefully worded to tie that beer garden to the flea market use, right? And I got to be honest with you, that's the special permit. First of all, is actually two of them, right? They came to us, got a special permit for a beer garden in one location, and then somebody moved it or something. So I think actually the second there's two of them, right?
Yes.
So it's a modification. And I would want to do a modification again in a very similar way. And again, this would require, I don't know, was Joe Layden who wrote this? Or,
Joe wrote it, but I could sit with Fiona. And
yeah, but I would want a similarly written modification, again, to extend it again.
Which is why the case is 816-2,
Yep,
because it's a second modification to the original special permit,
yep.
which is how planning does it. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to do ours the same way.
But so I would not want to just do this on the fly like we do many of them. I'd like it to be written very professionally, the way, the way Joe wrote this one.
There's so much to it, parking, so we don't know if the septic system would take 7 days a week.
Yeah, but that would be decided by the health department, wouldn't it?
Well, of course, but,
Yeah, I know, there's a lot for the restaurant.
I mean, we don't even know what the property looks like because we don't have a certified plot plan in front of us, so.
Yeah,
I mean, we have I don't know what this plan is, what you call it, but nobody signed it.
Right. It's when they submitted when they,
Oh, there is a name on it. Oh, no, it just says restaurant access and evacuation plan,
yeah.
What about this?
drawn by
That
owner.
was the one that was submitted. We never got a certified plot plan.
Okay.
For,
Yeah, this isn't, yeah,
because it was such a big piece of property and where they were putting it,
it wasn't.
it wasn't gonna be encroaching on anything, so we didn't
Yeah.
have them do a certified plot plan. But they more than likely would have to for the site plan review.
So. What about with regard to opening on Saturdays?
Myself, I have no problem with it.
I have no problem with that as long as it's written, exactly the way the current permit is written, which ties it, exclusively to the flea market use. In other words, the beer garden's open when the flea market's open. Only when the flea market's open.
Is there any
So
issues with-
isn't it just that simple though? Because the wording here is, works for that on Sundays.
Yeah.
So isn't it just a matter of striking wherever it says Sundays?
But Saturday and Sunday.
Is there any issues of concern with traffic?
No, cause they have to pay for a police detail.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they can open the flea market 7 days a week today. We're not giving them permission to open the flea market. Right? You could open the flea market 7 days a week right now,
We would like,
if you wanted to.
of course.
Right? So the only what you can't do is have the beer garden open on Saturdays. You can have the flea market open on Saturdays today. You don't have permission to have the beer garden.
Oh, I see. So the hearing is for the beer garden and not necessarily the.
I don't know of any reason he can't have the flea market open on Saturday.
I didn't research that. I don't know. I don't know if there's any part of his special permit that happened years ago that only says you're allowed to open on Sundays.
Yeah, when neither of us looked at that.
Does he need to come and ask anyone for permission to open on Saturdays? The beer garden aside, right? We know the beer garden, so just take the beer garden out of it. Like if he just threw up a shingle and said we're gonna open on Saturdays.
I wouldn't stop him. I didn't research all the way back.
You wouldn't necessarily.
Right.
The town doesn't need to be involved in that anyway, to say it's okay? It's,
Well, they have to have a license through the select board saying when they're allowed to open. Well, not when they're allowed to open, but
when they are going to be.
when they're going to be open.
Okay.
So I think now the next path with you.
I think they already got that.
Yeah, but you gotta ask them. Does it say that it's restricted only to Sundays? And if it's not restricted only to Sundays, then you are only talking about the beer garden. No, if it's not restricted to only Sundays.
Would that be in the license they have when we do the 106?
No, that would be through the select board.
No, I understand, but the license they get from the select board, they have to give me copies of it.
Maybe.
Hold on.
It seems to me that the applicant should sit with people in this building on the Thursday afternoon meeting and talk through what he wants to do and what the options are and how to get there. I think should be the next step. And it might make sense for one of us to be there as well.
Guys are always invited.
To every meeting,
Sometimes there's donuts.
at
so-
2:00?
So if I had known that,
So you're saying that if we don't if we don't need the beer garden to be open on Saturday, we can just open the flea market on Saturday.
We're not sure.
We're not in a position
Hold on,
to tell
I'm
you
looking
that.
at-
That's why I'm saying I think you need to sit with folks, the professionals in town hall here, and that's what I referred to the development review meeting that they have every Thursday. I think, so I think it's a case of you should come in here, Mr. Berger will be there, the town planner will be there, I think,
Common picture.
you know, some other folks, you know, in leadership in town will be there. And you can say, look, this is what I'm trying to do, and they can help talk through what your options are, what you can and can't do, and that sort of thing. You know, I think that's really the way to proceed, and if you need permission from us, then they'll tell you that. If you need permission from some other board, they'll tell you that. You know, I think they'll give you a better picture of what it is that you need to be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah, here's the license from the select board. And you could put it up there if you want, and it just says from the first day of January 2023 until 31 of 2023. That should really be 2024,
No,
but
no, that's for that's for the year of 2023, from January 1st to December 31st. Cause they gotta renew this every year.
right. So
there's no restriction.
This doesn't look like there's a restriction there to open. So you're really just talking about the beer garden.
Yeah.
And then you could go up to another one because we have their license. That's for the restaurant and wine.
What was the other license title?
And that
Common
again,
victular,
Oh,
Yeah.
just a common victor, that's to
Yeah,
sell,
that's
that's to
what-
sell peanuts, isn't it?
that's the flea market.
that's the flea market.
That's a flea market?
They sell
I
peanuts
thought
there
that
too.
was, I thought that was to sell stuff.
They are selling stuff.
Oh, yeah, no.
Peter, that's called the flea market.
Yeah, been a long time.
And there's no restriction here,
No.
but now you're talking the use here. That's where you have it down to that
They
condition.
have a special permit that allows for the beer garden. That's restricted to just Sundays. And that's what needs to be modified.
Can we do that tonight? Give him beer garden?
I'm reluctant to try and do it on the fly. I
Fair
think
enough.
we've got some very professionally written decisions, and in my opinion, we should continue in that same format, because I think it's not gonna be the last time it gets modified.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we have decisions that are very clear. I think these are very important issues. You know, I don't think there's any ambiguity as far as when you can have the beer garden. And I'd like to keep it that way. So
Okay.
I'd be reluctant to try and do this on the fly.
Mr. Chair. So the way the planning board kind of does their meetings is they have their hearing, and then they tell the applicant, we're gonna have staff write a decision, and at our next meeting, we're going to vote on that decision. And I think that will really mirror what you're trying to do here.
I agree, but I also think that the applicant should meet with the Development Review Board to find out, I mean, if you wanna move forward with the restaurant, I think you need to meet with them and find out what you need to do.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I was talking two different issues.
So I don't see it anywhere in here where it limits it to Sundays.
Yeah, it's somewhere it says that it's one of the early findings.
It definitely limits it to when the flea market's in operation.
So that limits it to Sunday, cause right now,
Well, no, they could,
they could open
Any
Monday,
day.
Tuesday, Wednesday, you're right.
It's not that one.
And should we be getting an opinion from the chief of police for the beer garden, open a second day?
we're not doing any selling of the alcohol as of now anyway. I mean, we just pay for the license, but we're not serving anything. So, I mean, to us, that's like a secondary importance. We just want to have, you know, open the flea market on Saturday and Sunday.
You're saying you're not serving in the beer garden?
We're well, because it's
I don't think that's a limitation.
we haven't served any alcohol to the patron,
Since you got the
which is only 1 year.
Yeah, they just bought it.
got it a year ago.
Yeah, yeah. So to us, that's not like primary importance. You know? I think we just want to have the flea market open on if we can't serve the beer on Saturday, then that's fine with us as well. It's the, like I said, that's not a.
I would suggest, honestly, having an attorney look at this, because I'm not convinced that we even need to change the permit for Saturdays.
So, I think where Mr. Waller and I may be disagreeing a little bit, I'm not completely sure I'm even disagreeing, but, in the original special permit, there was a general finding, number 9, that said the Grafton Flea Market generally operates only on Sundays and Mondays from April through December. And I was always under the impression that findings, like if the findings change significantly, that impacts the special permit. Right, so we had a finding that the flea market only operated on Sundays and Monday holidays. So our decision was based on that finding. The fact that now the flea market's gonna operate on Sundays, on Saturdays, Sundays, and Monday holidays, that changes it. And I think that would, I don't know, void the permit is correct, or I think, we made a decision based on one finding, and now that finding is no longer accurate. So
I think the
I don't know
question
how
is
that
whether.
really works.
Yeah, I think, in my mind, the question is whether that finding has to translate into a condition somewhere.
Maybe it should have.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have, and it didn't.
And it also says it generally operates, doesn't
Yep.
say only
I know.
on Sunday and Monday.
So yeah, so I don't know. I'd be interested to see an attorney's view of that.
Maybe this is the second thing for our attorney to weigh in on.
Well, we did have a, special permit for a landscaping company that the findings gave their hours of operation, and we cited them with a violation that they were outside of that finding. They were supposed to only work like 7 to 3, and they were working 7 to 6. So with counsel, we gave them a cease and desist on those hours of operation.
And that was a finding, not a
That was a
condition.
finding, that's why I'm saying this.
And I think I've heard that the findings are,
Part of the decision.
yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't either.
We have finding 14, where you just were, proposed facilities intended to serve existing flea market patrons and is not intended to operate independently of the flea market.
Yeah,
And that would pertain to the restaurant.
absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any disagreement that the restaurant is different, completely different use. All right, so to the applicant, how would you like to proceed?
We want
He's
to
totally confused.
open on Saturday and Sunday. And if, the special permit with the beer garden doesn't transfer to Saturday, that's fine with us. That is just an accessory to our operation. It's not essential to our operation. So,
So, I would suggest you get a legal opinion on that. And what would you like to do for your application? So the option, similar to the last applicant, you can continue this to the next meeting, February 1st, or, we can, a later date. And, do any further research or, have additional information that you want to present to us, and we'll, do some further investigation on our side. You can withdraw the application, meaning you would have to start the process over again, or you could ask us to close the hearing and take a vote. It doesn't seem like, just based on the questions and comments, that a vote would be favorable. But it's up to you.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's a fourth option, which is, you know, I think the consensus of the board is that we would be willing to amend the special permit to include Saturdays. And we could ask staff to draft that decision and vote on it at the next meeting,
If that's necessary.
if it's even necessary, you know, and maybe in the meantime, we determine it's not necessary, but, you know, I think that's an option, is ask for a continuance. You know, I think we agree to direct staff to draft an amendment to the permit to allow Saturdays. But also at the same time, others can review and see whether it's even necessary. Does the existing permit allow for Saturdays? You know, and something along those lines.
Would they be withdrawing the restaurant request? Because that's still on the table.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
ignore
we
it.
could do that. Like I said, it's, I know it's, that the restaurant is a big investment and all that stuff, so we don't have to have it with this. I think the primary goal is to have it on Saturday, just to give us an option if there's Sunday that's rain, that we can still have an operation on Saturday and vice versa, and we're not losing, you know, like revenue just because we only open on Sunday, and Sunday rains like 13 days this year, and it's just very devastating to run a
So
business like that.
So maybe just make the record note, have the record note that he's said that he's willing to withdraw the restaurant component.
Yes, until we like ready for, you know, like whatever that we require for a restaurant planned.
It's almost like a three-step process.
Right, I mean, I
He
thought
basically wants to open on Saturday, and then he wants to know if the beer garden can be a part of it. And then the restaurant, sounds like it would be a money investment for you. And then what's the process for him to, down the road, is that taken out of this
right.
application?
Right. Yeah, I think right now it's the opening of the Saturday.
That's it.
Yep.
So. I guess we're gonna-
So would you like us to continue to February 1st?
Yes, please, because we want a
Yeah.
decision to whether, you know, it's
Whether we
okay
have
to
to
open
make
on
a
Saturday.
modification or not.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Appeals continue case number 816-2 to February 1, 2024 at 7 p.m. and direct staff, the planning department, to draft a decision allowing for the beer garden to operate on Saturdays,
If necessary.
if necessary.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McCusker?
Before we do that, was there any input from anyone? We didn't ask for any other public input.
Any public input, Katrina?
Nope.
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Yeomans?
Yes.
Chairman votes yes.
So I will, speak to planning.
Okay.
And then I will reach out to you or the other ones
Yep.
and try and get you to come into the, department meeting on
Team
Thursday. On Thursdays at 2, the team development meeting.
Okay.
Okay? So I'll reach out to you on Tuesday, cause we're closed on Monday.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that note, I think I'm done here, people.
Thank you, Bob.
Mr.
right.
Chair, may I go home?
Please. Well, not please, but please leave.
Don't forget your,
Please leave.
Please enjoy your,
The rest
your
of your
evening.
night.
We're here, you're here. Sabrina, you can have both of these back.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, no, yeah, no.
All right, so at this time I'll hand things off to Mr. McCusker.
Do you want to start with Elm Rock? Do we care? Let's start with Elm Rock. I think the way we left this was we wanted some information from Graves, but also Mr. Hill was gonna be looking into a couple of issues. So I think we do have a letter from Graves, December 13th, basically showing that there's no, outstanding work to be done. And then, you know, I think the obligatory 20% is calculated. And I may be completely wrong here, but as I recall, I think that 20% can be released. They've had final pavement on the ground for through a full season.
Nope, it
No?
cannot be released until the road is accepted at town meeting. I double checked that with Fiona yesterday. So if the board determines it's complete and you get on the May town meeting, it's accepted at town meeting, then we can schedule the meeting and release the funds.
The problem, the subdivision regulations say that, but the comprehensive permit does not reference that section of the subdivision regulations. Maybe it should have, and maybe you're intended to, but it does not. But, don't know where we go from there.
Well, I thought, the permit, the permit included the subdivision regulations unless waived.
There are specific sections of the permit that reference procedural sections of the subdivision regs, like 3.311, but the reduction in surety is 3.3.12 of the subdivision regs. Just because there are specific references to it, which is why I mentioned that.
Okay. Moving on from that, Mr. Hill, do you have any feedback on, you were gonna look into some easements, and I know you sent some things out, shortly before the meeting started on this. Want to bring us up to speed of where we are?
Sure. Yeah, no, I looked at Fiona's memo, which was very comprehensive, and I thought very well done. I reviewed Jeff Walsh's memoranda and the history of his comments. So I didn't see any outstanding issues with respect to construction of the project and the utilities and the roadway. I looked at the easement. You guys asked me to check out the easement for the water line where lot 21 and 22 meet. So I confirmed that was done correctly, and that really doesn't affect the town that much at all. It just had to do with a water connection to one of those lots. The applicant provided to me today a draft deed for conveying the road and the easements to the town of Grafton. So I've looked at that. I have a few comments on it. So I sent that back to you as well as to the applicant. I think that's, typically that's something that town council would review in terms of the form of the document so that it's consistent with how the town has accepted roads and easements in subdivisions in the past. I can certainly do that. I can investigate that and see how the town has traditionally handled that, if you'd like, or town council could do that. I did flag the issue with respect to access to the Grafton Land Trust property. And if I could just share my screen, I can put some slides up that illustrate what the problem is. So Katrina, could you enable screen sharing?
Yep, I just did.
Great. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. Let me just load the. Okay, so condition D5 stated that the gravel driveway that was shown on the plans on lot 12 would also provide access to the public for the Grafton Land Trust property that abuts the project. You all talked about this at the last meeting on December 7th. There's no easement or driveway or access from the cul-de-sac to the field or to the land trust property, but there was this easement that we conditioned the permit on over lot 12, and the thinking was that there was going to be this gravel driveway anyway to service the drainage basins that are behind these houses, so that gravel driveway could do double duty by providing the public access to the land trust property. This is a zoomed in section of the record plans that were recorded at the Registry of Deeds that we approved. As you can see, there's a gravel driveway here, starts at between lot 11 and lot 12, and then it kind of curves behind the house on lot 12. And then you can see here there's a spur that takes you to the Grafton Land Trust property at the top of the page. And then the gravel driveway also ends here at this basin. There's another small basin in this location in this corner of lot 12. It does not appear that this gravel driveway has been constructed. So this is actually an aerial photograph taken in 2021 that's on the Mass GIS website. This is where that driveway should have been built. This is that corner drainage basin. This is the main drainage basin for the road, and that driveway would have come all the way down here, and there would have been a spur in this location providing the access to the Grafton Land Trust property. The easement, by the way, if we go back to this slide. This is another section of their plan showing the easement area of lot 12. The easement area was actually quite large. It was essentially the entire back area of lot 12. So it starts here. It actually straddles the property line of lot 11 and lot 12, and then it includes all of this area behind lot 12, 13, and 14. I took a ruler on the Mass GIS website, and I did a very informal, non-scientific drawing of where I think that easement area is on lot 12, which is 19 Elm Rock Drive. And based upon the ruler, it's roughly this blue line. And as you can see, it really hugs pretty tightly this house that was built, leaving very little, private backyard for that property. But my main concern is that it appears that the owner of lot 12 has built a fence in the backyard within the easement area. They did this because no gravel driveway was built, so they probably didn't even know that that was an easement. And now this fence essentially obstructs access to this area here. So this is lot 11, this is lot 12, and this is where that driveway should have been built. It would have come along here, stopped at this location, and then would have had that spur providing access to the land trust property here.
So the driveway was built. The detail for that gravel access road shows a 50-50 loam and gravel mixture. It's probably why it's not obvious that it's just not a pure gravel road, but it's consistent with the detail. It was a 50% loam, 50% gravel mixture. So it would grow grass, but it would also be, fairly structurally sound for equipment needed to access the basin. It doesn't address the fence issue, but it's wanting you to know that it was built.
You're telling me there's a gravel driveway here?
Look at the detail. The detail on the approved plans would show a 50-50 mixture of loam and gravel, which won't be obvious on an aerial photo because they got grass to grow, which was the intent. But the gravel component of the mixture gives us some structural integrity.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, for the record, Jeff Walsh with Graves Engineering. It has been common practice, not just with this subdivision, but with other subdivisions in town, to provide gravel access, but for soil stabilization purposes, there's loam and seed put over the top. And from the surface, all you see is grass, but it's got a structural component underneath it by way of the gravel driveway.
So I understand that comment from the applicant, but I think it was the board's intent that this was going to look like a gravel driveway so that people would know that this was the access point to the land trust. So that's my point, is that I don't think anyone would ever know that there's a access point in this location, and especially with this fence here. So that was the basically the only thing that I flagged. There was, and this is the excerpt from the proposed deed. And even here, there's nothing in here that says that these access easement areas provide access to the Grafton Land Trust property. So my recommendation would be to amend this section of the deed so that you call out that these specific easement areas are intended to provide public access to the Grafton Land Trust. So that is, I think, the only outstanding issue that I saw with respect to the determination of completeness application. And if we can get resolution on that issue, I think the board could recommend that the road could be accepted by the town. But I think this needs to get addressed somehow.
My recollection from the meeting, because I was involved, was that the Grafton Land Trust, when things were all said and done, and when they were ready, was going to install some signage. I'm not sure if that rings a bell with any members who were involved, but
Yeah, it does a little bit, and I think it even says somewhere that they can install signage.
yeah.
What I'm more concerned about is that fence.
Right. The fences and none of these discussions address the fence issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. My response to Dan, and it may have been, late before the meeting, was that, so we looked at the deed for lot 12. It mentions the easement. So there's nothing wrong with the deed. And it essentially gives the grantor or their successors or assigns the ability to effectuate the use of the easement. So if DPW shows up to access the basin for maintenance and there's a fence in their way, they have every right to remove the sections of fence necessary. Now, I don't know if that's, the ultimate solution, but they certainly would have the right to. If that fence went in after road acceptance, we'd be in the same situation. And I know.
Does the owner on lot 12
Well,
know about that their fence?
I don't think we knew until
Do they have any
tonight.
idea?
No, we didn't know about
Yeah,
that.
it's
Oh,
Dan,
and so they obviously don't.
Dan caught that one, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we had no reason to even.
But I think the difference right now, though, is that after road acceptance, I believe it would be the town's easement. Right now, though, it's
Our easement.
your easement.
Yeah.
And I guess the question becomes is, so you were citing the language of the actual easement in the deed.
For that lot 12, right?
So it does that language doesn't necessarily say anything about access to land trust land or anything like that.
It references the easement as a drainage and access easement.
But not access to what?
I can pull it up. I attached that deed to the email to you, Dan, if you want to share.
I don't think it specifically calls out the Grafton Land Trust. It does do blanket access trust. Yeah, I mean an access.
It doesn't say anything about public access to the land trust property, but it doesn't necessarily have to, and I don't think that's necessarily the problem. I mean, the deed also says that the conveyance of the title to the property is subject to the board's comprehensive permit. In the comprehensive permit, condition D 4 or 5, it specifically says that there shall be an easement over lot 12 to provide public access to that land. So I'm not concerned that we don't have an enforceable easement. I think the concern is more practical. That, I mean, at least in my mind, I never envisioned that not to look like a gravel driveway. I think and maybe the board members, maybe you guys had a different impression, but it was always my understanding that was going to be a gravel driveway, not grass. That would be a real driveway that would provide access to that land.
Mr. Chair. I mean, I feel like if I was buying in that subdivision, I would prefer the look of a loam and seed, because I think it looks more like a yard versus having a gravel driveway between my house and lot 11. So, and I've seen these in other subdivisions where that's the norm because it just looks nicer. As long as the town knows the access is there and that the gravel's there, that it has the structure for them to drive on it. To me, it looks nicer, just from an aesthetic point of view. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking of High Point in particular, where there's multiple different access points into the land in the center, and they put signs up saying that this is access to whatever. So you got houses right in their front yard or in their side yards, right at the street is a sign that says public access or something along those lines. And I remember reading somewhere that it's the land trust or somebody else, I think, that could put a sign up. It's almost too bad we didn't have the applicant or the developer put the sign up. What I'm kind of wondering at this point is what sort of enforceability, can someone go to that homeowner and say, you need to take that fence down? I guess that question's to you, Dan. I mean,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as you said before, we don't have the easement yet, so it's not really the town's right, but it's absolutely the applicant's right. And once the town has possession of the easement, then the town could do it through, I guess, Mr. Berger, or town council. I mean, that fence clearly obstructs the use of the easement, so that there's no question that it is violative of the easement.
Yep. Okay,
Mr. Chair?
Hang on a second, Mr. Boardman, go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. I don't think the town should be burdened with dealing with the fence. I hear what Kay had to say relative to grass being, better looking, but I think the developer has to, it should deal with the homeowner, get the fence removed, and the land trust or whoever is, or the developer putting up signage there that clearly states that is an access road and that goes around the back to give access to the detention basin, as well as having a spur going to the land trust, which was the original intent of the 40B comprehensive permit that was granted. So I'm not in favor of the town accepting the burden that was developed in this project.
Mr. Chair. When this lot was sold to this owner, did the lot show that there was an easement there? So did the owner know?
Yes,
And
that's
then
correct.
just when, so there
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
if he bought that lot knowing there was an easement, which is what happens when we do new construction.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
just didn't,
I mean, and that, there'll, a lot of times people just go, I didn't know that
Well,
after
yeah.
the fact. And of course, everybody has a closing attorney.
right, and I always say.
Would their
make sure
closing
you-
attorney say you're allowed to have a fence on there until they ask to, the easement area is 20,000 square feet. Do you have access? Probably not in this particular case because I think that access road that it's really just a loom area, but it's really a structural load zone for a truck or something.
And the onus is on that owner, then if they had
So-
that as part of their, when they built this home and they knew,
Yeah.
then they didn't do their due
We
diligence.
would have, or not really we, I mean, Turning Point has been doing a lot of the engineering for lot lines. So when you go to do a lot line staking to put up a fence to know where it is,
Yeah,
their surveyors didn't see the easement supposedly, and on the record. And then these guys would have caught it and said, whoa, so this one slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, 'cause we didn't do this lot. We did a
Yeah.
bunch of lots in there, but we didn't do this lot,
Oh.
else we would have.
Yeah, we would have known and said, oh, no, hold on,
There's your easement, yeah.
Wait a minute, what,
meaning you didn't do the fence? What do you mean?
We didn't stake the lot line. Some of the customers in that development reached out to us to stake the lot line. It made sense. We had survey work in the neighborhood.
I mean, like if they wanted to put up a fence or just to stake the
Or
lot?
or both, yeah. Know where the lot
just to
line.
know.
Yeah, just to know, yeah.
Whoever put the fence in didn't do their due diligence
Well,
either.
so
They
here's
should
the
have
thing
checked.
is, we don't, in the building department, a certified plot plan is not required for a
Mm-hmm.
fence. We tell them they should know where it is.
Right, they
And we
should survey.
also always tell them to put it at least a foot inside their lot line because they're not allowed to trespass on their neighbor's property to repair it or clean
Mm-hmm.
it or whatever. And normally if we get calls, if Bonnie gets a call and it's in one of my 40Bs, she gives it to me. I don't recall ever getting these, and we always tell them, if there is an easement on your property,
to
you cannot put
build on top of
anything.
it,
You can't put anything on it. You can't
right.
put a swing set. You can't put a fence. You can't put a pool. So I don't know if they've ever even called us to ask us about the fence.
Give building permits for typical.
Only if they're over 7
So,
feet.
yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I can be obviously the bad guy. I just learned about this at 6 o'clock. So, I mean, I'll take the
I think
first
you're gonna have
approach.
to be.
So, and say, hey, sorry, you should have
Yeah.
had this surveyed appropriately. You've got a fence here and it needs to move back,
Yeah, they could change.
in those areas where, it's designated on the plan. And if it's out of their easement, it's out of their easement. So, unfortunately, it is what it is.
Maybe they could just modify it, make it smaller. Doesn't mean they
Yeah,
can't
it
have a
looks like
fence.
it looks like it needs to be modified.
Kind of
so.
an odd
They've got
shape.
an odd shape, so
It is odd.
I'm not too sure what the survey or something weird happened there. So
there may not have been anybody, I mean, the homeowner himself.
it's very possible.
More than likely because he could have asked us for a copy of the plot plan because it's public record. It's in the building permit. And what a lot of people are doing now is taking their iPhone and going off the plots on the plan and walking their property. And he more than likely could have done that.
Yeah, just didn't do his proper due diligence.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Good luck.
Yeah, okay, so where do we stand? So we've got, oh my God.
Got a fence through an easement. I think that's where we stand.
yeah, that's where we stand.
So many
So
unfinished
I
things.
think what you want is you want a determination of completeness,
That's
so you can
correct,
get the Springtown meeting.
Yep.
That's the goal,
And the
That's
bond.
the goal.
huh?
And a large sum of bond money.
And the bond money. I don't, I'm, if, I understand what you're saying as far as what language is in the permit. I'm just really reluctant to let the bond money go until the road has been accepted. If that's what our standard policy is in town here. So I'm reluctant, but, it's a 5-member board. I think we're at the point where we can say the project is complete. We can say the project is complete. But we just have the issue of that fence, and I don't know if there's a way we can say it's complete pending removal of fence and,
Or modification of fence?
yeah, whatever.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in the determination of completeness process, when the applicant requests that the board determine it complete, the board, if they find that it's not complete, they need to cite specific things that render the project not complete, and that to me would be the fence. Infrastructure, roadway, drainage, and so on and so forth, is not an issue, and it's a fence insofar as it prohibits access to the Grafton Land Trust property and to the, into the stormwater basin. That's just my opinion, so.
Do you want to just continue scanning? I mean, we still have time.
Could I add to Jeff's comment because it's germane? Yes, you're supposed to make a determination of completeness or not completeness. Your determination is supposed to be within 45 days.
Yep.
45 days has passed.
But we agreed on a continuance, and I assume that meant an extension as well.
Okay, then we should do that again. If you
Right, because otherwise we would be coming up with a determination of incompleteness or not complete or whatever. And I don't think that's what we want to do.
and start over.
Yeah, I don't think we want
Potentially
to do
start
that.
over, which
Right.
exactly we don't want to do.
Right.
I just wanted to lay everything out.
What I'd rather do is continue this February 1. You go knock on the door, whatever you need to do and see how that goes. And
Yeah, I don't. I think in the spirit of things, I mean, Dan and I could go back and forth for the next hour and a half of citing certain sections in the permit. Some of it is broken, refers to broken parts, broken sections that go nowhere. Mr. Gray, Jeff's the 20% of it doesn't really say that.
yeah,
It says what the roads should be, his real number of using prevailing wage. It doesn't cite anything about 20% of bond, above and beyond. That just came out of the blue from, this is what the planning board does.
Yep.
So there's plenty of things to do, but I think in the spirit of agreement,
Yeah,
even the bond reduction, I think the bond reduction, I'm not asking for the full thing. I mean, I'm out there plowing, so if I went belly up tomorrow, I mean, you'd be guys on the hook for there. I've been taking care of the place for 2 years.
yeah.
You still have substantial money in the peer review account for the Elm Rock. And if we brought it down, the $300,000, the spirit of the planning board's thing is for maintenance of the roadway systems. If we're saying that the roadway systems are complete, and Jeff has already said that they're complete, then we're just talking about a maintenance issue. I have a hard time believing that $320,000 from now to May needs to be held for maintenance issues, which is me plowing the place. So that's my concern.
Yep.
That's where I'm at. So I have no problems continuing to the next meeting. I'll be the bad guy, and I might need a little bit of help, maybe from the town, to say, yeah, this is an easement, guys.
That guy's probably going to call the building.
Yeah, it's not a bait and
He'll call
yeah,
us.
it's not a bait and I didn't pull a bait and switch. I'm gonna get accused of that. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know about it, but just an FYI, might need a little assistance from
Absolutely.
Katrina as well.
Absolutely.
And if we can get that fence section removed out of
Yeah.
the easement, and the guy just has no section on the end, and then maybe in the spring he reconfigures it to be out of the easement, but he just gets those sections down out of the easement, would that be satisfactory? I mean, they're out of the easement.
Sounds like it would be.
It's a crappy time of year,
No,
if I could say crappy.
He doesn't want his dog
To deal with
run
the
after
fence, but we'll
street,
Yeah.
or his kids, or
Yeah, right.
for him.
Yeah, that'll be certainly be
that's-
his decision, but
yeah,
at least
right.
we can
Right.
present it as an option.
But I don't have an issue continuance. If if we can touch upon both of those matters. The next
Yeah, is the bond reduction part of the? That's a completely separate issue from the completeness.
Yeah, you're voting on
is.
determination of completeness, and the bond reduction would be a separate action.
And quite frankly, normally the planning board does not call upon me to do a surety reduction cost estimate like I did once we're at this point with the determination of completeness process. I don't know what the discussion of the board is. It's been years since I've gone to the meetings, but normally when there's reductions requested, it's when work is getting complete and there's actually money that will be returned to the developer. But once it gets to determination of completeness, it's presumed that there's no $0 in work remaining. $0 in work remaining, which is what I put on paper in December.
Yeah.
But
I think, based on what's the estimate here, I mean, we all know that, you know, the 20% of all of these items are completed. You know,
that's correct. And I'll point out that Graves Engineering did not bring this up out of the blue. The 20% of the entire cost of construction is from section 3.3.12.2.c of the subdivision rules.
Right.
no, and
Okay.
and you know, I think it's definitely appropriate until, you know, you kind of drill into the context of where we're at.
Right. My gut tells me that 20% is to get through the season and that sort of thing, which we're way beyond. And I think Chad has a valid point that if we wanted to hold something for operational issues, you know, if we wanted to hold, I don't know, $50,000 or something till spring, I think that would be appropriate. I don't know that we need to hold the 300 just to cover the
Understood.
plow.
And we're going beyond my experience with the
yeah.
planning board. I don't know what they do with the
Yeah, no,
documents.
Yep, okay.
The hearsay I get, and there's a subdivision that's been completed for about a year now that they still haven't received their 20% because it hasn't been accepted. It's a 48.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
But
can I
I
ask a
just want to go
question?
back, hang on a quick second, Dan. You know, you said you wouldn't, I don't know that the project's completed, so somehow I would rely on Graves to tell me the project is completed.
I'm sorry?
I don't know that the project is or is not completed, because I'm not an engineer.
Right.
So somehow we would rely on you to tell us that.
That's
And if
right.
it isn't through this method, if the planning board doesn't only use this method, then,
There's two written documents to that effect.
Okay.
It's the as-built plan review letter that's got to
Alright.
do with the as-built and acceptance
Okay.
plans, and a separate plan called construction completeness. That's the physical on the
Got
ground
it.
stuff we dealt with. Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Got it, okay.
Yep.
Mr. Hill?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if maybe the reason for the holdback of 20% until the town meeting vote is there to provide some surety that if something were to happen to the road, say between now and then, I mean, you know, Jeff inspected this road, I'm assuming earlier in 2023. So if something were to happen, such as the stormwater basins fail or a catch basin collapses or something, that between then and spring of 2024, that maybe that's what that money is meant for.
I think, Dan, I think to some extent that is what it's meant for, but but somewhere there's the language about going through a full year, going through a winter season and we've done that. We've gone through a couple of them at this point,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's correct.
yeah. So I think that we're beyond, you know, those failures. I mean, it's like so many things. If you're gonna have a failure, you're gonna have a failure when it first starts up in the initial phases of it. In the case of roads, it's probably in the first year. Once you get through that, you should be in good shape for quite a while.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What happened? I think even the guys we did I think we did our first certificate of completeness filed in what, a year and a half ago or 2 years maybe.
Yeah, November 22.
Two, I think
Yeah,
it
this is-
was.
this is
Yeah,
like the
so
third- I-
yeah,
this is the third winter.
you know, I've been kind of
22,
asleep at the wheel, and then I've had some documents from the town,
Yeah.
which the comp permit says I have to get. There was only a couple of them sign-offs with the fire or whatever. So I got those, but then all of a sudden it went through the winter, and one, a catch basin settled, and then some of the bounds that Jeff found,
Yep.
needed some more loom. So that's where we're kind of like, all right, we'll just keep continuing. So it's kind of been like this long punch list, but this is my second or third. I think this is the third winter of top coat.
I think it is too.
Quite honestly, but
Yeah, no,
I mean, I'm self-inflicted to take the blame that it's been taking so long, but but I think we're almost there.
Yeah, 'cause you submitted it and then we put it on hold because the two other 40Bs were just,
Yep. May
There's a lot
7th of
going on.
2021,
Yeah.
the top course was
Yeah.
placed.
2020.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put, the discussion of the money held by the board in perspective. you have a very engaged developer who did a very good job with the project. And it's like, why so much money? Well, there was also, I was involved with 10, 15 years ago, 4 subdivisions that were found in default. 3 of them, the developers finished. The surety companies finished with their own contractors because there was enough surety that they felt that they could do the work cheaper. Another one gave the money to the town and said, see you later, bye. And that one, that the money went to the town, there was the plowing, the sanding, the rent, the street light operation, the rental of hydrants, or the, whatever it is, to the water district. My point is the money started chipping away, and there was a very short list of punch list items. I don't know whatever happened to that, it just kind of got absorbed into the town and the way it went. There's another project in town, I think the developers basically said, I've had enough, and there was a pretty good list of work to be done, a lot of which he took care of. There was some other things needing to be done, and then nothing's happening there, and then whatever's being held is not nearly enough now. And I don't know what's going on with that one, but the perspective is an engaged developer versus some of those other things that the regulator is trying to protect.
Right, I agree. So this is a public hearing. So I think we would need to continue the public hearing one more time, just so we can try and get our arms around the issue of the fence. I think the issue of the surety is separate, and I believe we could probably vote to release some of that tonight if we wanted to. How do other people feel about that topic?
I think that makes sense. Maybe Peter can.
No, I'm abstaining
opine on
from
it.
comments and everything.
Well, I just meant in terms of a number for plowing for a year.
Oh.
Or for the season. Is it?
50 grand enough?
50, 75. I mean, 75 is way too much. I mean, but
100
for plowing. But
He's revealing his race.
I used to plow.
I'm gonna stop doing it.
Make it 100. Make it 100. You might start plowing again.
No, I mean, as long 50 is more than enough for plowing and sanding.
That road, I would think so.
Of course. We're not going to have. I mean,
Blizzard of 78 coming through.
well, we could, but
Bite your tongue.
we could, but
So you
Dan,
So would you say 30? If we said 32.3, so 90% of it we released. So kept 10% of it.
I'd rather just keep 50.
Yeah.
Dan,
Mr. Chair.
are you hang on a second, Bill. Dan, are you okay with where I'm kind of headed here?
Yeah, it's your call. Yep.
Well, but you got to keep me from going off the rails. Bill Yeomans, yes.
Yes, thank you, Bill. I think it's important, again, that the developer, I admit, has done a very nice job on this project. But I watched the select board the other night, and there's a party that is dissatisfied with what he has been told to do, and he's now trying to address the town to reimburse him for the expenses of what he was told to take out in a piece of real estate that he owns. So I want to be clear. I think the homeowners have to know where the road is, and as Dan pointed out in his slide originally, it goes to the back of the house. So I think that the total fence is being affected. If not, then that's fine. Then just take out the side. But I think that it has to show, and they have to know that, and it has to be marked in some respect that it's access to the trail of the Grafton Land Trust, but more importantly, it's access to that retention basin, or a detention basin on the back. So, I think that has to be clearly dealt with, and that homeowner has to be clearly dealt with by the developer, and it should not be placed on any future burden to the town.
Right, and the developers has agreed to do that.
And I just want to be clear that
you've been clear, Mr. Boardman.
Yeah, and even to clarify for Bill, I'm willing to obviously mark out the easement with turning point, so then there's no cost for,
Yep.
you know, a survey to put it in the right spot. I'll do it so then they can put the fence in the right spot, so.
So I think Chad, I think Mr. Borden's got the message.
Yep.
All right, so I think the way we've done this in the past, and I think you actually end up writing a letter or a document of some sort with respect to the, what is that?
This is the last one I wrote when we dropped it from 478 to 323. So
Yeah, so, at this point, I'd entertain a motion to, reduce the, surety for the Elm Rock Estates project from, it's not 323, it's actually more than that, isn't it? It's
323, yeah.
no, there's 323 plus something else, or did we release that?
no, we were
It's just 323.
it's only 323.
It's on the last page.
Is that what all that is 323?
Jeff's latest letter was 0, but then the 20% rounds to 323.
Well, that's what he said. I thought there was like 37,000 that was being held for.
Oh, I see what you mean. Before Jeff's letter was 0.
Before the recent letter,
Yeah.
I think is what,
Yeah.
I don't know what the amount of
Wait,
surety
what
is.
does that document say we reduced it to?
323. This we did in June of 21.
Wow,
That was a while ago.
3 years ago.
June 10th of 2021. We dropped it from 478 to 323.
June 21, which is just
Jeff,
after
does that
top.
37,000 or 34,000 ring a bell at all?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. All right, I mean,
Them-
but
early
that
on,
said
early on,
323.
there might have been a surety bond for stabilization of the site as a whole. But that was probably released some time ago, I would suspect.
Okay.
No, here's Jeff's letter. This 34,000.
What?
His estimate. Is that,
I did not bring the construction cost estimate letters this evening.
That's February of 23.
Yeah.
No, this is June of 21.
Oh, it is. Okay, I have another one in February of 23.
That's the 34.
Yeah. Oh, February of 23 is as-built and acceptance review.
You
not a
could,
bond.
you
But
could.
the bottom line is that document says it's 323, so that should be what you have. Is
Yeah,
323.
or you could reverse the memo and just say that it's been reduced to $50,000.
Yeah, well, that,
And if there's
all
any,
I-
yeah, if
I
there's
got bogged
anything,
down.
if
I
there's
wanted
anything
to-
wacky, that's.
I wanted to
no.
say reduce from 323
Yeah.
to.
But that's what I did on this one. I just
Yeah,
put this
that-
is the reduced.
That would be totally fine with the
All
bank.
right,
and
so
everything,
all right,
but-
so I entertain a motion to reduce the surety for Elm Rock Estates 40B from 323,000 down to 50,000
Second.
dollars.
So moved.
Wait. I need so move first.
Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, I think the sitting members can vote on this, so we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with Mr. Yeomans,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes,
Mr. Waller,
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
I'm abstaining.
Oh,
he's not on it.
Yeah, he's not on here.
Well, it's been a while, but he's choosing to abstain.
but Jiffy was not on the last meeting, right?
No.
All right.
No, it was.
Well, you were?
The December, right?
Yes, he was there.
Yes, I was.
He was in
He
December.
wouldn't have to be on it anyways. This
You're right.
isn't, this
You're right. You
isn't
wouldn't have to.
voting on
Mr.
it.
Thomas, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Vice Chairman votes yes. Okay, so that reduces the bond. And then if there's nothing else to talk about, then I'd entertain a motion to continue. This is case number
827.
827 to
February 1st.
February 1st at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Thank you.
Somebody say second.
Second. Sorry.
Bill,
Yes.
do you have to appoint Jiffy to have his vote count? I don't think he was. Is that necessary?
No, he was here in December when we started this one.
No, I think Bill's correct because I
Oh.
did appoint Ms. Bizwas as a voting member last time. So I will appoint Mr. Thomas as a voting member for this case. And a motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, again, a roll call vote. Mr. Yeomans,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Vice Chairman votes yes. Okay.
I abstain just as a perception.
Perception is 9/10 reality.
Well, just
All right, so then,
because of people sitting out there.
Just so you know,
Next-
I'm not a voting member on Misco's Hill.
Yeah, so, first of all, one thing, make sure we're clear on, for the Misco Hills 40B, I think we're down to 4 members.
Oh, geez, really?
Yep.
Yes.
And, nothing we can do about it. Ms. Bizwas,
Moved.
moved, so she's resigned from the board. Unless you want to start all over again. Which quite frankly, I don't
I
want
do
to.
love seeing you guys every 2 weeks.
Might be quicker than that Deck 40A application.
God. All right, I'm trying to, where are we?
You're by the hour, right, Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
I accept payment in food.
All right, so,
I mean, it's majority vote anyways, isn't it?
yeah, oh yeah, by the way, it's a simple majority, so.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be 4 votes. It could be
Yes,
3.
3. Yeah, simple majority,
Simple majority.
instead of a super majority.
I thought you said super.
No, simple.
Simple.
Super duper.
All right, and this goes with this goes with this, this goes with this. That goes over here. Alright. Bear with me, I'm getting there. Alright, so we're reopening case number
898.
898. I think we've just got a few other things to be looking over here. Does the applicant maybe want to go through what's been submitted?
Yeah, sure. Through the chair,
Yep.
this is Clay Williams with Easton Partners. During our last meeting, I think we had some question as to what degree of review the waivers have had. I talked with Katrina and looked back at some of the previous meetings, and I forget what date it was, but we had a pretty in-depth discussion with Jeff and with Dan. So we kind of just tied all those comments in with our 4th revision to the waiver list. I know that Stephen Travis at Turning Point had a new set of plans issued out to Graves and a letter from him. So I guess with that, I'll kind of put it back to you on where you would like to start.
Just say what the revision was to the waiver list. It was just simple.
Yeah, it was a change to the last remaining waiver. I had put the side setback and rear setbacks being switched. And then other than that, nothing else really changed. There was just a couple other minor.
Yeah, we just corrected the kind of a typo.
Right.
With the side setback dimension and the rear setback dimensions.
So what I'm hearing is there's a new waiver list, but do we get that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that one you're talking about, page 5?
Right.
The last
So
one?
that's
Check in your
comprehensive
envelope.
permit
Check in your
application
folder.
revision 4, dated January 2nd, 2024.
Green folder that is under your thumb. I did put it in there. I'll give you mine.
Hang on a second. What's all? Let me see what's here.
Oh, I have it.
This is all Elm Rock, so that's why it's under there.
Is it here?
Not there. This is the stuff from Turning. Oh, here
There
it
it
is.
is.
Ah, got it. Thank you. Okay. All right. All right. So there's just one tweak of the waivers. We have new drawings, new documents from Turning Point. Jeff, you've given us a letter on that.
That is correct.
You want to recap that, please?
Certainly, with respect to any potential major issues and so forth that would affect number of dwelling units, viability of the stormwater system, so on and so forth. Comments have been addressed. I have no issues there's 3 or 4 extremely minor things that, slope of a short section of sidewalk, a typo on a elevation for chambers, and maybe a couple other small things that should be, in my opinion, picked up during the completion of construction plans. Going through my letter, the first of these minor things starts on page 3, item number 19. Landscape plans are forthcoming, but I believe, we've gone through the landscape early on in the process. You don't have a set of landscape plans in the comprehensive permit plan set as of now to vote on if it affects your vote. I would expect that, at a minimum, from my perspective as an engineer, I don't focus so much on landscape architecture, but I expect to have, at construction plan level, every little nut and bolt accounted for with respect to number of plantings, the plan, landscaping plans and so forth. So, unless it's gonna affect a board member's vote, I didn't have an issue with it. Next, on page 4, item number 27, that's the small section of sidewalk. We had discussion a while ago about, handicap accessibility for pedestrians throughout the project. They've essentially met that. They have met that. There's a series of switchbacks. I think they were presented on about a 2 or 3 page plan set a while ago, maybe informally only to our office. And if so, I had only brief discussion with this board, but those handicap pedestrian access features have been incorporated into the comprehensive plan set now.
But there's still an outstanding issue.
Extremely minor. It's Bill, it's got to do with you're not supposed to exceed
8.33.
Thank you, 8.33%, and you're not supposed to be back cross slope more than 2%. And unfortunately, there's just a little warp, if you will, in about a 5 or 10 foot section of sidewalk that puts one side of the sidewalk in compliance, one side not. It's not worth belaboring now, but it's not like it's a large stretch, or it certainly does not, in my eyes, question whatsoever that the grading can't be achieved.
But it's something that,
In front of building 600.
yeah, but it's something that will be able to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next page, number 30, that's the typo with an elevation, between, oh, I'm sorry, number 30 is the guardrail. This I would like to speak briefly about, with the board about. It could be conditioned. There's a short stretch of guardrail, Travis, if you don't mind. Thank you, right there. In my opinion, the guardrail's more important for a vehicle going down the hill, and to that extent, it should be extended up, to the right, to the end of the excavation, and likewise down to the left to the end of excavation. And I gave you some dimensions, the extended length. The whole idea is a car shouldn't be going in there, but nevertheless, the excavation doesn't exist today where they're using the driveway. There's more of a turn in the driveway that would make more of a turning maneuver in the vicinity of the depression, and the depression would show up as part of the project, and my recommendation extend the guardrail.
So basically, the full length of the catch basin, that's what you're saying?
The stormwater bay, yep. I think they call it a level spreader, but yes, the depression.
No issue with that?
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, number 32, that's just a typo, that, there's 4 sets of data, top of stone, bottom of stone, top of chamber, bottom of chamber. There's only one set of data that's didn't get fully updated during the last revision, which is extremely minor. In my opinion, if I were the contractor looking at it and I got 4 sets of data and 3 of them three say one thing and one says the other, only if I installed it at the wrong elevation would I try to argue that one piece of data is right and the other 3 are wrong. That being said, I'm very comfortable with the plans from an engineering perspective, and the fact that comments and engineering issues brought up earlier on had been addressed. And again, I'd like to say that the accessible pedestrian access throughout the site, in my opinion, is very important, and achieving that was I think doable. You know, unfortunately, a lot of concrete with the switchbacks, but nevertheless, it'll work. It'll work out.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I have two things to add. One is we were waiting for final layout and, you know, your informal blessing before giving the green light to the landscape architect to finalize her revisions based on the layout adjustments. And I attended the Conservation Commission meeting earlier this week for this project, and they had no substantial comments. They would have likely, I'm optimistic, but I think they would have likely closed the hearing if DEP had issued a file number. So that has been continued to the next meeting. We should have a DEP file number. Talked about conditions, and the agent had indicated that she had already started to prepare a decision. So very comfortable with where conservation is at.
In the footbridge.
Yeah, exactly, because we have a footbridge crossing the wetland to provide trail connectivity. We probably spent most of the time of the meeting talking about that, and they were very satisfied with what we were proposing.
Okay.
No horses go over it. We may have to put a sign that says no horses.
Yeah.
Don't tell
and
my
the-
wife that.
I know, luckily it's on the other side of town.
And I don't know if I sent it to you. I did post it on the webpage, the comments from fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, you did send it to us. That,
Okay.
that they were. Yeah, it was funny because we met with fire. They're the ones who picked the hydrant locations. But now they want to make sure they're within 100 feet of an FDC.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing.
Yeah. That can be on construction plans as well, because we just need to confirm building wise where the FDCs are on the building.
Right.
Which is easy to do because we're building these buildings in Auburn.
Yep.
So we will do that.
Okay.
All right, we have a new memo from, the sewer department, but that new memo seems to just be saying, you know, all the off-site and, well, on and off-site infrastructure is tested to their standards and things along those lines. I do have a note from our December 7th meeting that Dan, I think you were gonna reach out to, Paul Canoyer. I think really the issue was along the lines of, I think other properties along the path of the force main, being able to tie in, or was that part of the question, or maybe that wasn't.
Private sewer in a public
Yeah.
road.
Yeah, private sewer in a public road, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think we were waiting for the capacity analysis, and that came in, it looks like on December 15th.
Yep.
But yeah, I think my concern was that, first of all, who's gonna own the force main? I mean, the pump station apparently is gonna be private. I think that there's an assumption or an agreement on that, but the force main itself is gonna be in the public way. So I'm assuming that's gonna be transferred to the sewer department, and that then adds the question, well, can other abutters tap into it, and do we have any concerns about how one taps into a force main? And my limited understanding of the engineering of this is that it's not really simple, and there may be complications. So I haven't spoken to Paul yet, but I certainly can between now and the next meeting.
Okay.
And I don't know if Jeff has any experience with those issues or any comments on tapping into a force main.
My recollection is the Grafton Sewer Department does not allow pressure connections to a force main. It's physically possible. Some other communities may allow it, but my understanding is Grafton does not, and I'm aware of at least one other community that does not. And quite frankly, if that's standard operating procedure with Grafton Sewer Department, which I thought I heard earlier on in the public hearing process here, you know, whether it's a gravity sewer line from the pump station to the connection to the existing sewer system or a pressure force main, any connections by any individuals to the sewer department's sewer system would have to be under the rules and regulations of the sewer commissioners in the sewer department. And if the sewer department doesn't allow such a connection to the force main, I don't know as if any connection would be allowed, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I think there's some tension there, though, Jeff, between that policy and state statute, which the state law essentially says that if there's a sewer in the public way, any abutter has the right to tap into it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's beyond me. I'm just sharing my experience and my recollection of discussions on this particular issue, on this particular one. Yep.
That's my
I
recollection
don't question
as
that
well.
at all, Dan, about the state statute.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think that's something that we need to make sure we have a handle on, maybe through a condition in the permit, but there needs to be some confidence that we're not setting ourselves up for some kind of legal fight down the road if there's future abutters. Yeah, there's other land I mean, it's a short connection. The force main is relatively short. It goes down Old Upton Street and ties into the main that's on Upton Street. But nevertheless, there's still vacant parcels that could be developed, and so that would be a concern.
Can this be treated like the water district putting in a water main? If the water main breaks, the town doesn't fix it, the water district does. So could this be treated the same way? This force main breaks, Eastland has to fix it.
Absolutely. That's
the intention.
That's
I
our
mean,
intent to be private.
that's been my, because I know that sewer department won't let anybody hook into a force main.
So I was waiting just until everyone spoke, but I spoke to Paul, and that's what promulgated probably that email, because he told me over the phone, he goes, I just want to make sure that it gets into the comprehensive permit, that maybe it's a condition, maybe it's some other wording that that they will be doing all the inspections, and whatever else he wrote. So he did kind of memorialize it, but while I had him on the phone, we talked about being a private sewer in a public way, and he says, well, DOT's jurisdiction, and I let him know. So he, in other words, he says it's really not up to him, DOT. He did mention that they don't allow those force main connections from other properties in this scenario, and I explained to him that the intention was that it would be the responsibility of Eastland or Eastland's entity and the property management company, which is all the more reason why not having other properties tie into it. You don't have this finger pointing of who's responsible. It's an isolated pump station and force main. Those properties would have the right to run their own force main all the way up to the manhole too, if and when the time comes.
So Steve, is it your intention that this force main would remain privately owned, that you guys would not transfer the pipe, the title to the pipe to the town?
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Keep it clean.
Yeah. Totally private. Yeah.
Pump station private, force main private.
Okay.
All right,
Bill,
Mr. Yeomans.
I have two questions relative to the sewer questions. There's a memo from Paul Canoyer dated November 29, where he suggests and asks that the ZBA should consider in their decision, including numbers, and it pertains to the Grafton Sewer Department pump station policy, pump station, et cetera. And then there's another memo that he's asking for a condition to be placed. And that memo is dated January 9. Are you aware of those?
Yeah, that's what those we were talking about.
Okay.
And I think Dan's aware of them as well, and where appropriate, I would assume that Dan will take that recommendation and memorialize it in a condition.
Yeah, those
conditions.
Thank you.
So I just want to go back to the waiver request. So sorry, Clay, I hadn't caught up when you had said it, but so my note from December 7th is we still need to do the waivers, right? But then I look in here and I see some comments and notes, not as many as usual. And you said that you looked back and we've actually gone through them all?
So, on our 9:30 meeting, actually 10:05 meeting, we went through them. The only reason we held off on anything was Jeff hadn't done his full review of the plans yet, and there wasn't a letter from Jeff. But I've got notes on every single one we went through.
Of the waivers?
Yep.
On page 2, it says right here, did not have this waiver previously, section 5224
Yep.
and 5221.
That's not new to this revision.
Right. That was,
Oh, that's not new to this?
Only
With and
new to
without.
this revision for the waivers is the final waiver.
Right.
The 20 and 25 or whatever was just
Right.
flipped.
So yes, we did, so we received waivers on 9/3 that 9/30 that we reviewed on 10/5.
Right.
And then we got another set of waivers on 10/25. And then a set of waivers on 11/30 that we kinda went over on 12/7. And then the final set that we just got on,
Third, I think.
yeah, January 2nd.
Yeah.
January 2nd, third they
Right.
came in. So those are the most recent ones.
So, all right, Clay, tell us again, what changed from the November 30th to the January 2nd waivers?
Yeah, so in that case, when you go to the last page 5
Yep.
out of 5, and it was me, I had screwed up and I had put to allow a side setback of 25 feet and a rear setback of 20, when in reality those numbers should have been flipped around.
So my note here was, so, and we talked about that at last meeting, cause I penciled in 20 and then 25.
Correct.
All right, so you made that change. Now, I just wanna go back to that one that Peter pointed out. Clearly, we talked about that as well. I've got notes here, not necessarily saying there's any problem.
Right. And that was just due to, showing it in both fashions with and without donated land.
Right.
So that got put in
Yep.
one set previous to this one.
Yep.
My notes on the setbacks were that we agreed to do 23 feet side yard setback for building 400 and 25 feet rear yard setback for building 500. Is that still the case?
So. So you're looking at the last
Yeah.
page ones, Dan?
I'm looking at the November 30th version that I just took notes at the last meeting.
Yep.
I have that written down to
Yeah,
mine.
that does ring a bell, Dan.
Ditto.
Yeah.
So the building is 23.1 feet off the property line. I think for
Right.
convenience, it's at 20. We rounded down to 20.
Yeah.
The building in the back is 25 feet from the rear line. So we could say 23. We could do 23.
But I think we want to be specific to
Talking
what
about
building you
tying
need
into
the
a
waiver
building.
for.
Right.
Right.
Yep. So-
Yeah, I have a note of here of building 500, but then I've also got building 5, which I don't think exists.
Yeah, it's 5. Yeah. We
Yeah, I wrote down side 23 feet at building 400, rear 25 feet at building 500.
Yep. So we can do that because that's what the dimension is. So yeah, that'll help us be specific.
Yeah. So are we comfortable that we've gone through all these? I mean, goodness knows, I have no desire to go through them.
Mr. Chairman, if I may on that point, I have two sets of notes that I was personally involved with going through the waivers back on October 5th and again on or about December 7th.
All right, so I'm gonna assume that we're done.
Yep.
Right. Anyone, this is a public hearing, is there anyone that's looking to say anything? Anyone online?
Nope.
Dan, is there anything else that we need? Is there any reason we can't close this tonight?
Well, I
Or
think you might
shouldn't
want to keep
close
it
it?
open so that I can draft conditions and the applicant can provide feedback on the draft conditions. And my assumption is that you'd want me to basically import the conditions that we just used for Pleasant Street, modify as appropriate to deal with this project.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that how we did it last time? We actually kept it open?
Yeah, we're okay with that.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm okay with
If
it.
you close it, you're technically not supposed to take any more testimony from anybody.
Yeah.
So,
No, I understand that. I thought that we could, do work on conditions and work on tweaking the document, but I'm fine leaving it open as well. Is February 11th too soon? Or February 1st too soon? Or do we want to just shoot for, we'll do it to February 1st because we're all going to be here anyways, and if you need more time, then we can talk about it then.
I don't need more time. I can, because it's gonna be a mirror of Pleasant Street, except for a handful of specifically tailored conditions for this project. So I don't think I have a problem meeting February 1st.
All right. Anyone else have anything they want to say or do? Then I'll entertain a motion to continue case number 898 to February 1st at 7 p.m.
You need an extension before you vote on that? From like a verbal?
I think we would, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so
Second.
February 1st, motion made and seconded. So I guess it's just, you can't vote. Are you? You're on
I'm
this?
on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, okay.
And Yeomans.
All right, so, the four members are gonna vote. Mr. Yom,
Who made the motion and who seconded?
I made the motion.
Peter.
I second it.
Sorry, there was too much chatter. I couldn't pick it up. Sorry.
Mr. Yeomans,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Waller,
Yes.
Vice Chairman votes yes. And with that, I turn the meeting back over to our chairman.
Thank you.
Bill, just for the record, what is our deadline, the 180-day deadline at this point?
It passed.
Negative.
Say
Yeah,
3
we
weeks.
gave an extension to this meeting and we just granted an extension to February 1st.
And I will email those over to you Tuesday.
So Katrina, are you gonna get the form signed for that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
Good.
February 1st won't run as late.
Rough month.
I
Those
imagine.
first
Although it
48.
might.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
No, you look good. You got your color, so.
I'll say goodnight as well. Good night, guys.
Good night, Dave.
Thank
Good night, Bill. Good night, Jiffy.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Back on, so I look.
I was trying to leave with these guys now.
Not the way to lose weight, though. Minutes.
All right. So
Maybe what he left is the minutes.
Just the minutes
Yeah.
if you want
Is
to
there
do
only
them or
one of them?
table.
How many do we have? Just
That's
Yeah.
it. Just last
one.
Just one. That's it.
you want to just bang them out?
Yeah, let's just this one.
Actually, the only comment I had on these minutes from December 7th is there's an extra space at the very beginning before A.
Okay.
That's it?
Yeah, otherwise
Wow.
I was good with everything that I read in here.
Right here, that, right there? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good eyes.
It's there. I see it.
Yeah, I went through them. I didn't see anything either. But
I move to accept the minutes of Thursday, December 7th, 2023. I'm gonna say as submitted.
Second.
Roll call vote. Ms. Reed,
yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Yeomans.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. Minutes from December 7th are accepted. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, I'm just, if we can, I'd like to just comment that if the flea market were to come to the Development Review Board, I would like to be able to attend unless someone else in the ZBA wants to. I think someone from the ZBA should attend. And
Yeah,
I never say no to a volunteer.
Yeah, sounds good.
so if you just keep that in mind, Katrina, if you catch wind that they're actually gonna show up. Right. All right, did you get the motion to adjourn?
Nope.
no.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker.
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Yeomans.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Good night, all. Good night,
Yes.
Jiffy.
Good night.
Good night.
Votes yes.
Thank
We're
you.
adjourned.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.